Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man! All right! Episode 75 of Shirt Show. We're talking with Jared from AKT in Florida. Let's go!
Hey there, Dandy Pants.
Hey, dude.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You look sweet today. I like your hair. Did you style it? Put a little gel in there? A little mousse?
No mousse, no gel.
Just man.
It's so short, that it doesn't need it.
Looks wonderful.
Thanks. You look fantastic too. You look like $1 million, like you got some rest.
I did get some rest. Well, kind of. Not really. I'm a piece of shit.
Compared to last weekend.
Yeah, probably.
Wait. When was Princess?
2 weekends ago.
Yeah. Okay. Compared to that.
Still recouping.
Still recovering, right? It's going to take a solid month.
Yeah. So last night, Bill and Brian decided to get the fights here at the shop last night. So we were here watching them. We got here for prelims at like 8:00, watched it all the way up till probably like 10:30. And I get a call from home, and it's actually Libby who picked up the phone, my daughter. And she was like, Grayson's broken. And I was like, what? And then my wife picks up the phone. She's like, you need to hurry home now. Grayson needs to go get stitches. And I was like, oh God. I was like, all right, I'll see you in a minute. So I get in my car, I go home, and he's like upstairs. They got like a fucking rag on his head. There's blood everywhere, like blood all over the carpet upstairs, like blood on the table, blood on all over him. And I'm like, what happened? And like my daughter and my son were like wrestling or something, like playing around upstairs, and she pushed him and he fell. But we have this like big square table upstairs for them to play Legos on, because they have like a shitload of Legos. And he fell, and right here, like on his head, smashed right into the corner of the table. And it like huge gash, like right on his forehead, like gross, like split open. The funny thing was, is it looked like a UFC punch gash. Like I literally just got done watching people get like gashed up, and then I had to run home. And he's like, please tell me I don't have to get stitches. And I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure you need stitches. I was like, you at least need like those like butterfly Band-Aids or something to like close it or whatever. And I was like, we have a friend who's a doctor. So we called her. She's like, yeah, come over to my house. I've got like everything I need here. So I was like, all right, got him in the car, drove him over there. She put like surgical glue or whatever, like in his cut, closed it, put the strips on it. And it was funny. Like I took him home, came back, and I only missed 2 fights. So like I hurried up, did the whole thing.
2 things. One, he needs to tell everybody that was from a UFC fight.
Right.
Not from playing with his sister, or not that his sister pushed him down. Or
well, the funny thing was, he was talking to me about it, and he recently got new glasses, and the new glasses he got are more round than anything. Like he likes that style. Mm-hmm. And the very next day after he got his glasses and went to school, everyone called him Harry Potter, because like his hair, the way he looks, his glasses, everything, it looks like Harry Potter. And he was like, he was so upset for like a couple of days. He's like, everyone's calling me Harry Potter. And then as soon as he got his cut and I went up there, I was like, hey, bud, at least it wasn't the shape of a lightning bolt. And he was like, now I look even more like Harry Potter. So it was pretty awesome.
I thought kids wanted to look like Harry Potter. I guess not anymore.
I don't think he wants to look like Harry Potter.
Okay.
But no, it was pretty funny. But yeah, I didn't get home till like 2 last night. And then I woke up at 8:30, technically 7:30 because of daylight savings. So
yeah, got an extra hour.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad.
Yeah. So tell me about your weekend.
Wow. Fast forward to the weekend. Don't you want to hear about the week?
No, tell me your week. I want to hear your week.
Okay. Well, so let's see. Monday morning, 6 a.m.
The whole week, play by play, please.
No, I would just sum up the week with maybe 2 things. One, boxes. One word, just boxes.
Lots of boxes.
Boxes. Yeah. Lots of boxes. And the second thing is that everyone seems to like the new Andy.
The cleanup guy?
Yeah. And I guess that makes me the old Andy.
Oh, how's that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm a little upset, a little depressed.
Do they call you Old Andy?
Yeah, that's what my new name is now.
See,
Old
that's
Andy.
that's what. Well, it's funny because we have two Zachs, so we're still trying to figure out how to like address them. Because every time I say Zach, they both turn around. So the one decided he wanted to be called Elder Zach because he's older. So maybe they should call you Elder Andy.
That's way better than older. Just change one letter. Right? I guess change the O to an E. Elder.
Right. You'd be Elder Rudman.
Mm-hmm. I just like Elder Andy.
Yeah, Elder Andy's good.
I like that. there used to be another Andy here. He was a designer and we called him Deuce. I think I told you that before.
We just call the other Zach Balzac.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Forget the Elder Zach. Oh, you mean there's Elder Zach and then
there's Elder Zach and Balzac.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good for a lawsuit, I'm sure.
Nah, whatever. Bring it.
Yeah. So that's my week. How about yours?
What did I do? This was my first week to be back in the office. So
I don't get it. What does that mean?
Because I was on press for weeks.
Yeah.
So we finally got Balzac trained up enough to run the press by himself. So he was running the press and he destroyed all week. He did amazing. And the Elder Zach and Bill were on the gauntlet and they did great all week too by themselves. So I was officially back in the office. It felt weird for a couple of days because like I barely left the office. Like I had so much shit to do that I was just sitting at my desk all day. But I got a ton of cleanup done. I got like random shit done because I did, a lot of work at my desk and then I got stuff done. It's funny. I think we talked on this show before about how you end up with after a year or two or whatever, like a ton of like overstock or just a ton of extras, like shit you ordered on accident, whatever else. I had probably like 30 boxes, like 30 big boxes of just like extra shit. And I had brought it into the office because we didn't have any room for it in shipping and receiving because it's overflowing right now. And I called my buddy Dave. You met Dave before. He's a customer of mine. He comes to the book clubs. And I called him. I was like, dude, like he sells at all these like big events or whatever. And I was like, dude, I'll make you a deal. I'll sell you all these tees at blank cost if I can print a one color vintage on all of them and just ship them to you, but you have to take them all. I was like, you don't even have to pay me right now. You can pay me like after the event or whatever. I just want them fucking gone. He was like, deal. And I was like, it was such a huge weight lifted off my shoulders to just be like, get these the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I'm sort of like, I'm on a mission to get rid of boxes.
Yeah.
However,
that was exactly what I was doing. I was just like, get them out of here. I don't want them in here anymore. The shitty part is it's like thousands and thousands of dollars of blanks just sitting there. And you're like,
it's sometimes good because, like if you have a misprint or if there's a hole in a shirt, you can grab it if you have it organized.
We did have it organized, but it's so random. It's like 3 pieces of Tahiti blue and medium. Right. And it's like red shirts and poly shirts and hoodies and youth stuff. And it's just like, there's no way to remember either. Be like, oh yeah, I got this order and I need those 4 red shirts. It's like, they're just going to sit there.
Right. I guess that's our week, right? So, in a abbreviated version, what about the weekend?
Well, I had the fights last night and then today I woke up this morning. I took the kids to the diner and then I went and saw a movie with the kids and then I picked up groceries and then I came here to talk to you.
Wow, you're a great dad.
Solid dad day.
Yeah. So what movie?
I can't remember what it was called. It was like,
oh yeah, you were on your phone or you like dropped them off at the theater. Okay. Not such a great dad.
The movie. Yeah. I dropped them off and I went and played in the arcade for a while by myself.
Yeah. Right.
What movie did I see? It was like something gone wrong or something. Oh, Ron's Gone Wrong. It's like this little robot cartoon thing. It was okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you go on a walk with JoJo this weekend?
No, I went on a walk with
your mom,
myself. Just myself. Although instead of having a fight night like you did, I had my mom over because I made a pumpkin pie.
You made a pumpkin pie?
I did. And I called her and I said, come on over to Pie Town. Because my pumpkin pie is pretty good. I know. Wait, is it you that hates pumpkin pie? Probably.
Yeah, I don't like pumpkin pie.
Well, I'm going to make, okay.
Apple
So
pie all the way American.
well, apple pie is good too, but my pumpkin pie, I'm going to make one and send it to you. The secret
I won't
is,
eat it.
well, that's pretty mean,
I don't like pumpkin pie.
but you haven't had mine.
Oh, that's going to change
Right.
my mind.
Yeah. All right. Fuck off.
Do you make the crust too, or do you get store-bought crust and then just
you know how I do it. I don't make
you
the
go to
crust
Target.
with-
Yeah.
right.
You go to
I
Target
don't make
buy
the
crust.
I buy crust for my pizzas and I buy crust for my pies.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else though, I make. Yeah.
So why do you make a special pie? Isn't it just like fucking can filling?
Never mind. Let's talk about something else.
You add 2 ingredients together or bake it?
There's more than 2 ingredients, and I was going to tell you my secret. I don't know if I got it out yet, but I have. My secret is I add brown sugar.
So
a lot,
out, man.
Yeah,
So it's
a
like
lot,
50-50 mix, brown sugar and pumpkin.
like a cup of brown sugar. I don't know 50-50. I put a whole cup of brown sugar in that bitch. Hey, why are balloons so dang expensive?
I don't know.
Inflation. I've got 2 and they're both pretty solid. I went through until I found ones that I thought you would like.
All right.
All right. So that's one. Do you want the other one now or do you want me to save it for?
Hit me with it.
Okay. You're going to love this one,
I bet.
but I need your attention. So since you're done
I'm
looking at
looking
your
mine up.
Okay. You ready?
Born ready.
What do you call us? You just looked down right when I started to talk. You looked down, and I'll wait. I'm patient.
Go ahead.
There's no rush here. So
I'm listening. Sorry.
Okay. What do you call a sad cup of coffee?
I don't know.
Depresso.
That was stupid.
It's not stupid. That's a good one. You know it is. All right. What do you have?
What do you call a made up color?
Man, I wanted to say something screen printed related.
It kind of is.
I don't know.
A pigment of your imagination.
That is good.
I had that one saved.
It's a good one, Dilly.
Thanks.
You have another one?
I want to come up on a high note.
All right.
I got
smart.
someone. I'll try it on you. Let me know what you think here.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Why did the cookie cry?
Something about crumbling. Maybe. No?
Because his wife was away for so long.
Not laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I'm clearing my throat because this isn't my job.
You got to clear your throat for that finger. You're going out of order now. It's weirding me out.
I changed everything up.
Holy shit. Really?
Yeah, this is all brand new. You ready?
Wow. Okay. I feel like I haven't done that in forever.
It's been a little bit. I think last week we did this on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it.
So long ago. It's a week and a day. It's throwing me off.
Dilly, it all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or re-stretch. This isn't comedy. I already told the jokes. We already did the.
Listening to you with your new and improved fucking sponsors things.
Yeah, don't ruin it for me. Don't ruin it for me.
I'm trying not to.
Dad jokes are over. This is the real deal.
You can't see my mouth. I'm not laughing. Take it from the top. I want to hear it again.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Yeah, you can. I believe in you.
Dilly, it all starts with a screen. I was fine. You ruined it. You ruined it.
Come in hot with the dilly.
Dilly.
All right, start over. Do it. Hold on. Do it in like a slow, sexy voice.
I don't know how to do that.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Come on.
Nope. I don't have that. I do, but I saved that for one person.
Me? When you call me after?
Yeah, this is later. Okay.
Okay.
Dilly, it all starts with the screen. And whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his
new
team,
stretches and old stretches.
Frank and his team do it the best. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, FFFFF,
rank.com,
or
greatfuckingscreens.com.
yeah, we have to practice this a little bit more.
This is brand new to me. I have no idea what's happening.
Right.
Proud of you though. It was good. It was hot.
Yeah, something new, you know?
I like it. Yeah. You got fresh hair. You got fresh fucking words.
Dilly, nobody likes cleaning screens. Like I started with Dilly.
Yeah,
that's not how it's written, but I just thought we should add that in there.
I like it. Keep it.
Dilly, nobody likes cleaning screens, but EasyWay makes it easier. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will help you keep your screens and your whole shop clean.
True.
Check them out at easyway.com to see how they can help your shop. EasyWay.
It's the easiest way.
You like it?
I love it. You did great.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. You make me, feel better
Complete?
about that.
Yeah.
I was vulnerable, but
I'm here to cradle you in my bosoms.
Well, I feel brave now.
Okay, good.
Let's see. Action Engineering makes the accessories.
Whoa.
Oh. Yeah. I messed up. Sorry. From the top.
Okay.
Dilly.
Good drop.
Dilly.
Hey,
my voice broke up there.
Hey man, what's up?
Puberty.
Yeah.
Hey. Dilly. Yeah. Action Engineering makes the accessories printers need. We got our third roller squeegee this week, just in time for hoodie season. And my press op hugged me. Did you see that? We had it on our story. Yeah, we put it on our story. It was a really emotional hug. Mm-hmm. We've been waiting for it. We ordered it and it was a long week without it, but we have it. And so
it wasn't an HR issue after that.
No, I don't call him Zach.
Balzac.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. But they have all kinds of rad stuff on their website, actionengineering.com. And be sure to use Shirt Show at checkout and get 15% off.
Hell of a deal.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Dilly.
There you go. Hey, bud.
Did you know Monarch makes an everyday white that pairs with a high opacity mixing system that gets you the colors you need fast?
Hell yeah, brother.
Learn more at monarchcolor.com. Ink better, print better, be better.
Live Moss.
Monarch.
Fan-fucking-tastic, Andy.
Thank you. That's a lot of words, like it's not easy saying words.
You're a wizard.
Well, it's hard for me.
I know it's very hard for me.
It's always hard for you, right?
Usually, yeah.
On Friday, I've never seen anything like this. On Friday, a customer brought us donuts. And with the donuts, they brought us these half gallons of milk, like 2% milk. And
I saw it grossed me out. I saw the video of the UPS guy fucking chugging milk.
Do you know how many people sent me that was so gross and that was fucking disgusting?
I mean, I'm that guy though. Like I literally will be out in a hot summer day and come in from like mowing the lawn or something and like chug a glass of milk.
Well,
but this guy was like much more fucking gallon or quart or whatever it was.
So I went back and he was unloading and I said, "Hey, you want a donut?" And he goes, No, that'll upset my stomach. I said, "Well, we've got some milk."
Not a fucking quart of milk.
Yeah, no, it was a half gallon. I said, "No, we have some milk." And he's like, "All right, that sounds good." And I was just kidding. I didn't think he was going to take me up on it. So I go "Okay, cool. I'll be back." And I come back with the half gallon because I couldn't find a cup. And I go, "You can just have this." And he was like, "That works." And he took it and he drank the entire half gallon, one shot, like chugged
and then you told him it was breast milk.
And then the people who were standing around watching it all grossed out, and some of them were traumatized. And then we put it on Instagram.
You got your packages, so the rest of the people the rest of the day are just going to have diarrhea packages.
Exactly. When I saw him when he came for his pickup at, I don't know, 3 or 4 o'clock or whatever it was, I was like, "Hey, you want some more milk?" And he goes, "No."
he just had lactose farts all day after that.
He said, "Nope, I'm good." He did not want any.
It would have been better if he said, "Yeah," and just fucking chugged another half gallon.
Right. Nope. I think he's had his milk for maybe the year. That's probably
what I don't get is, why did the people bring you donuts and milk?
I don't know. That's what they did. They figured that that's how we do it. Like we dip the donuts in milk or something.
No, who does that?
It's cookies and milk, and then it would be donuts and coffee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so.
Bring somebody milk.
That's what she brought.
You ever go to a friend's house and have their milk in their refrigerator? Is it set at like a different temperature and the milk's fucking weird because it's different temperature?
You mean warmer or something?
Yeah, like warmer. Colder is probably okay, but warmer milk from someone else's refrigerator fucking gives me the heebies.
I want our refrigerator set just above freezing. Like it almost is frozen.
So that everything you put on the top shelf is fucking frozen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Dilly.
Who do we got today, bud?
Today we have Jared Mendelewicz. You think I did it?
I was waiting for you to butcher that last name.
Mendelewicz. I think that's good.
Yeah.
And Jared's from AKT in Orlando, Florida.
Do you think he goes to Disney World all the time?
Dude, oh my God. We are the same. We're twins. We're fucking twins, because you know what I wrote right after that? That exact thing you said. Exactly.
Disney World?
I said, do you think he's been to Disney?
He's definitely been to Disney.
Oh, really? Well, we should ask him, because maybe
what I want to know is how many times.
Wouldn't it be funny if you've been more times than him?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because a lot of times I noticed when I've lived in, cities, when I was in college or whatever, and I lived in a city, I tended not to do the things that
the touristy
people
shit.
Do. Yeah. Like I just,
well, it's just like me. Like I've been to New York City like 5 times total, and I live like 2 hours away.
Right. Yeah.
So there's definitely people that have been to the city way more times than I have.
Mm-hmm. Like there's people in Chicago that probably have never been to the Bean,
Yeah.
And so maybe he lives in Orlando and he's like, what's Disney?
Right. Or he just like, fuck that place.
Right. Well, he's here. I don't know. You want to just jump on it?
Yeah.
You want to jump on it?
Let's just jump on it. Let's just stomp on it.
Yeah. Okay. Ready?
Deep breaths. Oh, I'm going to need a minute now after seeing that. Yeah. What up, dude?
Hello.
Can you hear us okay?
I hear you. Is anybody else talking?
Something.
Yeah,
something.
It's fine.
It's like the first time in a long time, like we've turned this on and it's worked.
I was sitting here for like 30 minutes. Like, I'm like, I got to make sure everything's set, because I don't want to be one of those people. And then it's,
Yeah, one of those people.
He's prepared.
So many times we get on and they're like, it's like, dude, all right.
No, I didn't want to be that. When I did the Printavo podcast, I was like, set up my phone to be a camera, because I didn't even want to have like laptop quality. I'm like, no, I got to elevate things a little bit here.
All right, cool.
Good lighting too. I mean, there's a glow back there.
You got that fish tank.
The fish tank. The fish tank is the cool part. Except I realized it's like right behind my head, which doesn't make it that cool. So, yeah.
What is on the fish tank? The like black spot. Is that something in the tank?
It's just like wood inside. You know how it is, man. It's driftwood.
Yeah. Is it like fancy fish tank? Like you go super deep into it, or you just like got a gold?
I mean, I'm way into the stuff. So there's like a bunch of cool things. Like my house, I have like these couple really big ones, but I got way into it during COVID. It's like, I never thought I was a person who had anything as a hobby except my work. Like that was it. Like, I'm like, no, I don't need what do you mean hobby? I just go home, watch TV. Like that's it.
Right.
And then COVID
You were like,
happened, and then
you
I
know
lost
what?
my mind.
Fish
and
tanks.
And no, it's a perfect blend of like being just handy enough to do stuff and the artistic side, like to make it look good. So that's
Right.
what appealed to me. And I could do it. Like if it was salt, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like I'm not that guy. But
Was it like a freshwater one?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's way easier. It's basically just like
you have a carp in there.
there's a beta fish in there, like a fighting fish or whatever, and a bunch of shrimp and stuff too, like these little freshwater shrimps.
Oh. I feel like if I had a fish tank, it would be massive, and I would have like a fucking like sunken pirate ship and like a castle. Like I wouldn't even care about the fish. I just want like the water features.
Yeah, I have an 8-foot one being made to go under my out of acrylic under my TV at home, but it's gonna be really short, and it's gonna be those big fat fancy goldfish, like those big fat like wiggly ones. But then that's it.
It sounds really cool. It sounds like your whole apartment is just going to be, or your house is going to be just like sweet fish tanks.
Yeah, well, I convinced my wife to be okay with those two. So there's one in the dining room and then that one. So hopefully after that, that's it.
Cool.
I always think of Deuce Bigelow when
That's
see
what my
fish
business
tanks.
partner said. He goes, "Here, fishy, fishy, fishy," when he came into my office.
So what's going on? How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. This morning we had the first good morning in a long time with my 3-year-old. So
Why? No sleep or
he's
what?
3. No, he's just it had nothing to do with that. Plenty of sleep, and we have a newborn, so everyone's sleeping fine. It's just when he's awake is the problem.
Right. Just pure terror.
Yeah, it's not terror. It's more just like whiny, whatever. I hear it's normal, so it's all good.
Oh,
but today was a great day. The weather cooled off here. It's a brisk 55 degrees.
Wow. That's
in
for
Orlando.
Florida?
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy. Like everyone's like people wearing gloves and stuff. It's like,
I love here in the spring when it's like 40 degrees, everyone's like t-shirt and shorts.
people are lighting fires when it drops below 60 here, just so you know. Like that's how hot it is all the time.
Bill and I were talking before you came on, and we were wondering how many times you've been to Disney.
I mean, I've been a whole bunch, but until COVID, I was a pass holder for both Universal and Disney. I mean, once I got married, and then of course once we had kids, we went less and less, which is kind of ironic, I guess. But now that they're old enough he's old enough to like actually, I don't know, remember it, maybe we'll go. But my friend and I used to go. Like we'd be like, "Oh, let's duck out of work early and just go to Universal," and there'd be no lines. We just ride the rides like for real. Like that's the only way to do it, and it has to be fourth quarter. Otherwise, it's so hot.
Right. Yeah, we've gone the last 3 years in a row, and every year the first year we went all out. We were like, all right, let's go get a nice room. We did the whole like prepay thing with the wristbands and everything, and it was nice because it was like meal plan. Like you just go to a restaurant that you picked months ago. And like you sit down, you eat anything you want, and it's already all taken care of. Like the whole trip was done
free. You paid for it.
Yeah, I fucking paid like out the ass for it, but still, it was nice to just be like, give me this and this and this, and it's like I don't have to pull a wallet out. I don't have to sign anything. I don't do anything.
Yeah.
So we went to all these like really nice restaurants, and we got done with the trip, and we're like, this would be so much more fucking fun without the kids. Like, not to be a dick, but it's like.
Don't think of all the no alcohol at the parks or something like that.
Well, it's just like the nice restaurants, the nice room, like going to the park and like seeing the cool shit, like Star Wars and like all that other stuff. Like you kids get it and they're like, oh, this is cool. But you're like, man, if I didn't have to like take you to the bathroom every 5 minutes or hear you complain about how hot it is, like this would rule.
I feel like that applies to business too. Like there's not a month that goes by where I don't quote or I say to somebody, yeah, this would be so much easier without all these like clients and people we have to do stuff for. Everything would be so much easier.
Right. If I could just sit here and print stuff all day without having customers asking where their shit is.
We do a lot of work with like Disney focused clothing lines, which I know seems like kind of odd, or at least it did to me. And I mean, it is insane. Like I'll go to Disney and see their stuff like on a lot of people, and it's this whole world. Well, it's like
that's funny too, because like when I went to Disney the last couple times, you really realize the scale of like their merch operation because of like every single. It's not like you go to Disney and you walk in and it's like every store and shop you go to, it's the same Disney merch. It's like specific to that area of Disney. You're like, oh, I went to fucking, like, if you go to Epcot or whatever, and it's like all the different countries and stuff, like you're in, I don't remember what the one is that has like Frozen, but it's like, okay, this building has Frozen merch, and then this building has this merch. And it's not like one or two designs either. It's like 50
no,
designs.
There's a whole aftermarket that I think Disney looks the other way on, where people will buy their stuff from retail stores because people want it so badly, like the official bag with these ears from this variant of this, you know, and they'll buy it and then they'll resell it at retail plus markup. And like people are happy to pay it because it's way cheaper. The markup is way cheaper than flying to Disney and
for sure.
like a hotel and buying it, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy though to just think about like how, like who manages that shit? You know what I mean? They're like, okay, there's 9 bazillion SKUs of like just apparel alone. As
a merchandising guy, I go like when I went to Disney last, and I was like, the amount of bootleg stuff that people are wearing. It's why I stopped. It's why that and patent trolls is the reason why I stopped like offering like design your own t-shirt technology, because people always create the ugliest stuff. Like if there's a way with those t-shirt designers or whatever, they make the ugliest things I've ever seen. And you see these shirts and it's like, you can't use the Disney font to spell anything other than Disney. It looks really weird.
Well, now it's also like the Cricket Mom generation of like every family has matching t-shirts, and you know the mom made that shit at home with a cricket.
And the dad is like just wearing this like terrible shirt, just like
and it's just like this super shiny black vinyl.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say that's probably us making all those, Dylan. We do a lot of Disney trip shirts.
Well, I know Disney's like cracking down on that because they have their own website now where you can go and legitimize. Yeah, like if you do the whole experience thing like we did, like I think everybody gets the wristband, but like you order your wristbands, and in that option I think is like, do you want like custom tees for the family? You know what I mean? And you can use like their
say goodbye, boys.
All their shit.
And mugs and a calendar and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and they deliver it like to your room too. So like when you get there, it's like there and ready.
How much did you pay?
I paid $10,000 last time I went.
That's bad, man.
Yeah.
Wait,
well, I'm also flying 4 people from New York to Disney, and then.
Well, you didn't want to like drive.
No, dude, fuck that.
My parents, I'm a middle child, I have 2 siblings. And I grew up 2 dogs in the back in an Astro van driving from South Florida, like almost Miami, to North Carolina every single summer. It was a 16-hour drive. So what is it for you? Like 24 hours?
To Disney, I think it's like 18 or 20 hours, I think.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, especially with like 2 kids in the car. You know what I mean? Like it just, the thing is too, like if you do the whole package, like I'm not trying to fucking sell Disney right now, but like to do the whole thing, we do it through Boscov's, like the travel agency in Boscov's. You go there and it's like all Disney. So like you pay for the whole thing. You get on an airplane with like, I don't know, whatever, like 150 people. They're all going to Disney, every single person.
The flight back is the best one.
Yeah. So you get on the plane, you fly to Disney, like they take your bags directly from the plane to your room. Like, you never have to grab them, nothing. Like you get off, you get on the Magical Express, you go to Disney, and then your shit's already there and in the room and ready to go.
It sounds awful.
I don't know you very well, but like, I feel like I do, through this process. So like of watching all these things, but like, I don't see you getting on the Magical Express. like you don't strike me as a magical person,
Thanks. Well, it's true though. The thing is like, I'm that guy where like, I don't think I would have gone to Disney. I never had plans to go to Disney, but my daughter loves Disney. Like she's 9 and she doesn't just like Disney shows. She literally watches like the documentaries on like Walt Disney and like building Disney. And like, she's all about like, she wants to be an actress. So she goes to like theater and stuff. And like, she does like acting in like local plays and stuff. So she's like all for it. And she's even legit asked me before. She's like, Dad, can we like move to California so I can be on the Disney Channel? Like, that's just what she wants to do. I'm not doing that. I'll be like, hey, I'll take you to Disney World. But that's what you're getting.
Yeah. We work with a lot of like social media influencers and stuff like that. Like we have a conference called Playlist Live, and it's like a fan centric thing for social media stars and stuff like that. Right. And we like having kids now, like we started 10 years ago, but having kids now, I look and I go, oh no. Like, I am just so afraid of what happens. Like, there's 13-year-olds who are like multimillionaires. And like, I know everybody says that and I sound old saying that, but like I have a firsthand experience of what happens and like how this is. I'm very afraid. So don't send her to be on Disney Channel, please.
No, I don't think it can end well. I have no desire. Well, the thing is too, is like just doing the like local theater stuff. It's nice to have her like grind it out and like you go see that play and you're like, this play, like everyone in the crowd is like friends and family. It's not like people pay to see this shit. It's like this play is probably dog shit, but like your kids are getting experience and like learning lines and like doing their part and doing the whole thing. Like I would much rather have her grind that shit out and just be in like drama club in school until she's like 18. And then it's like, hey, do you want to fucking, like, we live in New York. It's like, do you want to go try it out on Broadway? Like, go.
My sister auditioned for the Rockettes. She moved to New York just because she's like, I have to do it. She's
right.
They were like, no, bye.
Just dreams crushed right down in there.
Yeah. But she taught like middle school theater for a long time. And and I've gone to a couple of those shows. So I know what you mean.
But it's just cool because she's like actually interested in something. She's not just like a sloth that just sits at home and does nothing. She's like,
I would imagine it's awesome for public speaking. I mean, it took me years to feel confident talking to people or
for
stuff like that, or sitting on panels. We used to be like nerve wracking to me. And, you know, so I think
Dylan, I've got it. Instead of Hannah Montana, she'll be Libby, New York. She can get her own show.
Her actual name is Liberty too. So like she wants to go to New York and see the Statue of Liberty. Right?
That's right. Yeah. And you can print merch for her. It'll be great.
Yeah. So anyway, dude, how did you get started in this whole fucking like merch or getting involved in that or anything?
Well, my business partner, Alex, so he's our CEO, and so the AKT is his initials, right? So he was always booking shows in South Florida. And I knew him through doing web development projects for like bands. So I used to code websites and stuff like that. And we met through something or another. I honestly don't even remember.
You used to code people's MySpace pages. Let's be honest.
We definitely used to do that. But by the time that came around, I was hiring people to do that. But yes, MySpaces were a big deal. Hardcore, like pretty much every eulogy recordings, like hardcore band, like who had a website, like was through us. So like it just kind of started. Alex used to do graphic design for, you know, his band, other bands, that kind of stuff. And then we got into just doing more websites together. I went off to UCF. Alex was, I think, a year behind me. And by the time he got up here, we created a website called Design Spin, which was like literally like a merch template site, basically. So you could buy a copy of a merch design, which the merch design is being generous. It was like clip art plus font colored on, you know what I mean? Like
Equals
it was a different
t-shirt,
time.
yeah.
It was a different time. It was easier to be it was harder to be a graphic designer, yet easier at the same time. So we were doing that, and then we were referring merch to a lot of other places. And then he was like, well, why don't we outsource? And then he was outsourcing stuff. And then he made the crazy step to say, we're going to open a shop. And I go, I don't know, man. And then he did it. We did it. And it was like 2,000 square foot facility and like caps, like manual presses. And like, I have pictures of this in our hallway. I found pictures. I dug it all up of all this like throughout the years. And I kind of framed them on the wall because I try to tell people where we came from. Try to remind them that it wasn't always like this, you know? But
so what was the first one? Because you guys went in like a thing where everything was spin for a while.
Yeah. So the merch company like was Merch Spin. And then it was like, oh, let's start printing buttons, man. And it was Button Spin. And then it was like, oh, Sticker Spin. It was like Ticket Spin. We were doing stuff for promoters. And then it was, there was something else spin. I can't remember what it was, but at some point, I think it was in like mid 2010s, we started doing a lot of like higher level music stuff, you know? And with that, like, you know, people close with Alex will just call him AKT, and it just became a thing where it's like, oh, we're doing our merch with AKT or this and that. I kind of like that branding anyways, you know, a little bit.
Well, that was going to be my question is why make all these individual companies and websites and everything and not just be one umbrella of like AKT handles like all of your.
Well, it all started separately, you know, so there was different partners, there was different, you know, ownership and stuff. So it was like I own different pieces, you know what I mean? It was just a little more convoluted. We eventually did like 10 years ago, like merge it all together into one thing. But that wasn't necessarily, that was after the branding part of it.
Right.
The branding was always together because it was more powerful as one. But there are still people who only know us as District Lines, which is the e-commerce store, or just know what AKT is, or just know what Playlist Live is, the social media conference. Or maybe people who know what Ticketspin is, which is like the VIP.
And then you guys acquired, well, this can come later, but then you guys got Smart Punk.
Yeah. When was that? 2010 or something. It was like a going out of business thing.
You
or
guys
something.
were like, that's mine.
I don't even know how we heard. I think they were a booking agent friend. And then we just went and we did like an asset purchase. So we didn't like take on too much of the nightmare, but, you know, there was a lot of history with that brand in a good way and in a bad way too. A lot of people, anytime press happened, you'd have people coming up saying, you owe me money. And we're like, no, we don't. And then some people were like, yes, here. So there was a lot of that going on, and then we relaunched it doing a lot of pre-orders. We did a lot of stuff with like absolutepunk.net, which is now Chorus FM, and we would do like tons of pre-sale releases and stuff for bands. And then it went quiet for a while. We used to do live recordings. So if you go to YouTube and you look at Smart Punk Live, we had like a little video studio and we tried that for a while, but of course you couldn't monetize anything because the bands were getting monetized, which is good for them, but it's hard when you're trying to pay for a studio. So then we kind of went quiet for a while. Now it's back as like a vinyl record distro. We, under my business partner Grant's like direction, it's got like a record label has started up. So we have like actual record releases that we do. We have exclusive vinyl color variants that we do for existing releases and new releases. And we also have a record shop by UCF, University of Central Florida here, that was in a building that was going to be demolished, and we're still there and they're not demolishing it. So it kind of works out because that's doing okay now.
Now, how do you go from like you got into like coding websites to being like, let's do fucking 95 different like companies and like,
I don't think there's like a conscious decision to like do a bunch of things. And with us, like looking back, I look and it all makes like, now I look and I go, oh, what were we thinking? Whatever. But at the time, these are all like really cool ideas. And you're like, let's try this. Let's try being able to build a website and do all these things. It's kind of like really empowering because you're like, once you have like Alex and I were always entrepreneurs. You know, I started hosting.
Well, he has like restaurants and shit, doesn't he?
Or yeah. Well, we own, AKT owns Copper Rocket, which is like a 23-year-old bar here that we bought like a few years ago. And that's a sports bar. And we're opening up a tiki bar next door. And it used to be on the bar was like on Bar Rescue. Like it has a lot of history, but we took it, gutted it, redid the whole thing. And that's been ours for a little while. And then
it just seems like you guys
Foxtail Coffee, which is
you guys just are entrepreneurs. Like you're like, you find an opportunity and you're like, I could definitely work this.
Yeah, I think it's just in us. You know, I was hosting websites for bands in my closet as a kid in high school, you know, or I was charging a band $15 a month to be their webmaster, which was a thing, you know. And I used to have a website in my local town, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, called pbgpunk.com. And I would make manual profiles for bands, like their logo on a police lineup and like stats about them and information. This was way before MySpace, before, not to age myself, like Friendster, before all that stuff. It was nothing. And then from there, I'd like I put one show on, Alex's band played it. Actually, that's the flyer right there, like the original flyer. So like his band's on it, our friends' bands are on it and stuff. And it was just, I don't know, I think it's just kind of built into you. Like I can't even talk to new people without asking them about their work and like needling like questions because I'm genuinely curious about how things function.
Right.
You know, or I go to a restaurant, I go, oh, that poor manager, you know? Or whatever, you know.
Dude, how do you have time, you know, to do any of this? It sounds like you're diversified, which is great. But it seems like unless you have a manager in place for every spot that is really competent, or maybe partners, you know, maybe that's what it takes is somebody that's actually invested financially. Otherwise, you're spread so thin. How do you make it all work?
A lot of this is learning backwards. So now I'm able to have this conversation with you and have a very articulate response to your question. But if you were to ask me, let's say the way my parents did through all these years, what do you mean you're dropping out of college? And I said, we're making plenty of money. My mom's like, you have consistent money. And I was like, yes. And like Alex and I were living like $150 website coding at a time. Like now I look back going, we were fools and I cannot believe this worked out. But the same thing kind of works in a sense with these different projects. So like we start with a plan. Obviously it doesn't go to plan. And if it makes sense, we make it work. So luckily for me, I have two business partners, Alex and Grant, who they're brothers, right? So there's an inseparable bond there, right? And we're figurative brothers together because I've known Alex for, half my life. And we've been working together pretty much that entire time. So we have like the Smart Punk brand is really under Grant's purview, the merch thing has evolved so much that there's so many levels now here, not really so many, it's like 2 or 3 levels, right? Of like leadership. So, and it's so much consistency overall, global pandemic aside, that we've kind of gotten into this groove with things. Don't get me wrong. We start the bar, like as experienced as we are, like it goes exactly the way you probably think. And it's like, you're like, good thing we're not on bar rescue or whatever. You just learn through all this stuff. Like you just try new things and there's plenty of things that did not work. There's things we want to do still.
With all the stuff,
when what happened with vinyl right now, no band can get vinyl anywhere. They're like a year out, everyone. And these are an industry where these people were late delivering records before the pandemic. And now it's even later. And we're like, maybe we should like do something about that and like invest in some.
Isn't it crazy how this resin shortage is affecting everyone, not just inks, plastisol inks, but vinyl. I mean, I guess it's the same thing, polyvinyl chloride,
I don't know.
It's crazy.
I didn't even know that's what it was, but I do know that they're late and that they're a year out. And I feel like everyone is allowed to be out on their timelines except us. I don't know what it is, but somehow my clients won't have any of it. Right. It is absolutely crazy.
Now, how do you see, like you see an opportunity with a business, say it's the bar or it's, all the, like the button thing or the sticker thing or whatever, like when you dive into it, do you guys have now enough know-how at a certain point to be like, this isn't working, cut it off and then do something else? Or
what's cool. Do we have enough know-how? Yes. Do other factors play? Yes. Of my partners, I'm more risk averse. At least that's the role I've seemingly filled. Okay. So, but I'm just as quick to imagine like new ideas and stuff too. But as far as like when it comes to merchandising stuff, we have a 3-person purchasing team, right? So we'll source tons of stuff. So there's business models being explored every day that are not really business models. So like once we decided to keep everything under AKT, it became a lot simpler. But when you talk about a bar, somebody has to have the idea, somebody has to have a plan, which we had, and everyone then generally like has a conversation. There's, I don't know, maybe some arguments, usually from me, like just kind of like, what about this? What about this? And then ultimately you have to take the leap at some point and you kind of watch it from there. And you just kind of, there's a lot of riding it by like the seat of your pants,
Right. Well, that's what I was wondering is because even just, I don't know, I've been thinking about branching out into other things, but every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I have the mental capacity to handle a bunch of other things because so much of my mind is tied up in upstate, not necessarily day-to-day bullshit, because I feel like I'm out of that a lot. Like I've handed a lot of it off, but just like I'm always like interested in like thinking of new things and like,
but that's like
growing and doing a thing. I know, but I don't think that I could be like, oh, because one thing I'm really passionate about that I really want to do someday is I want to own a movie theater. Like I want to have my own theater in town, but also part of me is like, how much of upstate am I giving up when I do that? Because I feel like that's going to take up half my mind and then I'm not going to do as much here.
I struggle with that just internally with our own stuff. Like there could have been an alternate timeline here where we didn't do any e-commerce stuff. And we had a very successful print shop regardless or whatever, right? But now it's all tied together. Now it's, well, we can't, you don't want to get rid of this because you have this, and you kind of blend your whole business into this like identity of this stuff. But like, to me, now I would do things differently. Then it was, we're bootstrapped, like we can make it work. Like we'll figure it out. Like, let's, just spend a little bit of your time on this and that or whatever. And you end up kind of like, what is it from Breaking Bad where he's like, don't half-ass something, whole-ass it or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is what I would do now if I look back. Like I would say, no, if you're going to launch fastrealtorsites.com, which is a website template system, which we did before we realized realtor was a trademark. It was, like I said, it was early on. And then you build this whole thing, maybe have somebody who actually runs it, not, we're going to do it in our spare time. Because guess what happens? It just sits, I told Bruce the same thing when he was like, yeah, Run My Shop, which is our shop software, which was web-based at the time. He was like, yeah, seeing that just like really not like, he said, just watching you guys kicking into gear and talking with me about it just really made us do that. And I go, I just wish we had dedicated someone to it.
Right.
But instead it just became an internal thing.
That's my concern too. I'm with you, Dylan. And I get what you're saying, Jared, but I've always thought like I've had opportunity come along where I could invest in a different company and it probably would have been successful. However, I decided to sort of like what you just said, Dylan, and just stay focused on this and double down here because I thought that that would make this stronger. I don't know if that was the right decision. It was just, like the decision I made. And it's probably because
nobody will know. So it is right.
I guess that's true. But we're not diversified. And so we didn't have, like when the pandemic happened, this was it, and you had, I don't know how you were diversified. I don't know if all of your businesses were affected.
Look, the merchandising side is this business. If I lived in, and it's still not a good thing. Entertainment was the first thing to stop and it's still the last thing starting up. So we had a major shift and I'm glad we had e-commerce because everything shifted to that and everyone started focusing on it. You're like, hey, this is what you can do during a pandemic. That's great. Do this all the time, guys, or whatever to the clients. But I think in a way, I talked to my director of operations, Robert, and I talked to him and even say to my business partners, I'm like, in a sense, I watch all these podcasts, even with all of your guests. And I'm like, I'm so jealous because so many people, it seems so much more straightforward. There's not all of these things floating, right? It's so much easier. Like even just us relaunching our social media stuff, which has been sitting dormant for years, just never did it. Like the amount of thought that has to go into it. You can't run 3 companies and also see that frame of that person using that piece of equipment and have the time to go and snap that picture, So Andy, I think you were right in making that decision. And I think it makes SureCone stronger and better for it. Would it suffer really because of another opportunity? Probably not, but whatever, here you are. But
if we had the right person or if I had the right person in place.
How do you know you have the right person?
I don't know. Yeah.
No, it's like everything
that's the tough part.
You never know. It's like hiring
on our
job that's like sales. Like they could be great at sales and then you hire them and you realize, oh my God, this is the worst type of person. I can't interview for these issues.
I think they're out there though. You could probably, people do it. People have if you look at it like dinner and you have your entree and that would be SureCon, I guess, my main course. And then you have these side projects you're working on, the sides, I guess. And maybe one of them fails or all of them until you hit one that's a winner. And then that turns into maybe something equal to your entree or something bigger. You never know.
We've done like supplemental stuff that didn't work, like we had a retail store that was geared towards college campuses called Big Top. And it was basically DTG machine, embroidery, put it by a college campus or whatever. And that stuff, it went for a while. And then eventually you kind of just decided, you know what, this doesn't really work. And that was a big deal. That was a big thing, like for us to launch that and to do all that stuff. Luckily, all the furniture matches our building here. So it all came back here, but that was a big deal. And that was something where you're like, hey, it's reselling our own stuff. Like this shouldn't be a problem. Then you get into Greek licensing, which is a whole other thing I'll talk to you about later.
Yeah. So it just seems like with a lot of that stuff, it's like you don't know what you don't know until you try it out. And then you find out if it's something you can mix in or not. And I've had that same problem. Like I made a band fulfillment website years ago, and it was one of those things like I was like, oh, you know, we're printing for a bunch of bands. It makes sense to have this. You know, we have a couple good bands that are willing to try it and use it and all this other stuff. But the thing is, just like you said, like I don't have anybody to run it. Like I have the idea and I have the goal and I have the money to give somebody to be like, build me this website. But then once it's up, like I didn't have anybody to just like oversee it and manage the whole thing. And it kind of just like fizzled out. Like we had a couple bands on it and it was doing okay, but like we never grew it. We never posted about it. We never did all this stuff. And then you see another company that's doing it the right way, where they have like a whole team that's dedicated to that branch of the company. And you're like, fuck, like I am so not there. You lose a band to that other company and you're like, well, it makes sense. Like they have their shit together and I don't.
But you know what? Don't forget, like I used to say to people, and I still to this day, I'll say things like, everyone is a joke. Okay. And I'm a pessimist, but so I say it that way. But the reality is like, you could say, well, they haven't learned how the sausage is made there, or they, whatever, like we know too much about ourselves. And something I had interviewed a guy who gave me a very weird accidental sage piece of advice. And he was talking about people who came up in the music industry. And he's somebody who works for like a major label now. And we were interviewing him for something here and we were talking about it. And he goes, you know, he's like, it's almost like people who come up to higher levels in the music industry or significant levels in the industry, they don't give themselves enough credit because I don't know if it's about like I'm paraphrasing, but I don't know if it's about like the scrappiness of like the DIY come about, you know, or that like, it's like people are more tattooed and showing up in shirts and you don't have like, let's say the classical, or the traditional education, you know, like I dropped out and realized I could get my associate's degree. I didn't like plan for it. It was just things were happening, right? We don't give ourselves enough credit. And I think part of that is like, I kind of hear it in what you're saying. Cause the reality is like, yeah, sure. You could have done it and done all that. But the reality, those people probably just lucked into that stuff too, man. Alex and I were buying Walmart shelves, like particle board shelves and building them and just doing our friend's straight edge clothing line because whatever, we turn in USPS boxes we took for free inside out and shipping them.
I've done that.
Now you can't, they print it on the inside, but like, I don't know. I think it's a pretty common thing. I mean, we like, you know, I think I see a lot of companies like when we were coming up, like we put out a big image of trying to seem really big. And, I think we did an okay job at that, but it was a very small organization, you know? So we didn't have anybody running e-commerce. It was us, like with someone who made whatever an hour answering phones on her hip and running around in the warehouse. Like it was sloppy and crazy. And it just tends to work out because you're just prepared for whenever that big opportunity comes.
Which is funny. It's funny that you say that because back when, I don't know what it was now, like 2006, 2007, something like that. When I first started getting into stuff, it was, you know, the MT's days and stuff like that. And I always saw AKT as this company. And we've talked about this before. Like I saw this company and it was like, oh, like I would like to be kind of where they're at that point in time. And I was like just starting, like I had merch buttons and I was doing my thing. And then I started selling t-shirts and stickers and all this other stuff. And it's the same thing that you're saying, like you were projecting this like larger than you were thing at that time. And I was like, fuck, man, I need to get there. But the funny thing is it motivated me to do what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I didn't have these companies to be like, oh, this is where I want to get to.
Yeah, I don't think it's a healthy thing that I look at it and go, hey, that's probably a joke over there too, man. Like that guy's probably like, there people probably hate them and, you know, everyone's a jerk and nobody listens and everything's catty. Like I assume in just a large organization, that's kind of how it works. But there's plenty of people where Alex and I looked at them and were like, oh man, we got to get that client from them. We can be that big. We can do that. If only just, I think it's natural, you know? And that's why like this kind of like a podcast or even just like even Print Hustlers as like a conference functioning at all, okay, is insane to me because maybe it's just my mentality or maybe, I don't know. It was very like talking to like, you just had this natural, like they suck. They're going to take no, we don't talk to them. Like somebody goes to them, you're dead to me. It's over, you know? I don't know if that's like, it's obviously like, covering up something else deep inside.
But the thing is it's the world you're coming from though, because that's how we were back when we were doing bands. It was so cutthroat to be like, I finally have this band because bands are cheap as fuck. And they're going to be like, I'm going to go to this other guy because he's literally like 15 cents cheaper. Or I overstayed my welcome at this company because I asked for money or I borrowed and I can't pay it until tour's over and so on and so on. And then they just jump to another merch company because they can't pay their bill at this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And, we've matured in our processes to minimize all of that stuff, but it still happens. It's insane. And I think maybe that's part of it, but that's why I love this, because I can never imagine in a million years shops talking to each other and sharing information. I told Bruce anecdotally when we spoke about how I'm like, yeah, cool. Print hustlers. That's cool, man. I go 2012 merch summit. We started that. We had them in Orlando. We people came in, UPS was there. Nobody was saying anything. Like, it was just like the most awkward thing, because you can't put a bunch of band merch companies in a room. They're not going to share a bunch of secrets. Like, they're not.
So what happened with that? Like, how did that event actually go?
I have roll up signs, and it was cool, I guess. I don't remember the final accounting on it. I'm sure it wasn't great, but it was nice to meet people. And right. I think it'd be different now that this exists.
But did you guys share stuff? I know you said it was awkward because
I don't know. I can't even remember. I mean, I don't even know what the conversations were. I used to think I had an amazing memory, but apparently I do not.
I think just even over the past 10 years, it's changed so much, because people were very guarded. People were very competitive. I mean, they wouldn't share secrets or even how they printed things. I think that's one of the reasons maybe why screen printing developed and evolved slowly. Like there weren't standards. There still aren't really standards. And some of the things like Dylan and I talk about, wouldn't it be cool if all squeegee rubber, was
certified trade too.
Yeah, like it was a certified trade, and the squeegee rubber, this color is that, and our Pantone, like we had mixing systems that worked, which we do now, but it didn't. It took a long time, and so I think that I don't know what set it off, and like why people started to open up and share more. Besides just the fact that there's social media, that we can make a video.
It's got to be that there is a face to things now that wasn't there before.
Right.
Like there's, okay, not to take you back to the fish stuff, right? But like I follow an aquarium company called Aquarium Co-op, right? The guy literally is like an internet phenom. But he ran a fish store before that. And now it's the Amazon of fish stuff, not in the product spread, but in the expectation of like, it comes really fast. You can rely on it. You're getting fast customer service. And I find myself watching these videos the same way I watch Churchill stuff or Printavo stuff, because it's like, there's a face to it and you're like connected to it. And I think that is the big thing, because it goes to everything. Look at makeup, I mean, how many billions of dollars in these brands where it's just, I mean, it's not just, but it's white labeling products that exist or working with companies that make it.
Well, and plus, I mean, I don't know if there's a secret sauce. I mean, running a business is incredibly complicated. You can have, I don't know if there's a formula. I don't know if there's a blueprint. I don't know if there really is, because it's so much so the person too, like the DNA even of the person.
I feel like that's 90% of it. Like,
is what?
That's my argument with this. Like, people are always like, oh, you share a lot and like, we appreciate you share. But then there's those people that are like, stop fucking giving away the secret sauce. And it's like, dude,
what are they, magicians?
Well, but the thing is,
they invent this.
Right. But that's the thing is, you can go on the internet right now and get all the answers to everything that we're saying. You just have to like find it. But 90% of it is that actual person. Like Andy and you and me, we all have the drive inside that's like, we want to fucking do this. Like, we want to make it awesome. And we want to just like go all in. Like, there's so many people that get into something and they're just like, they just wait for shit to come to them. And it's like, that's not how it works. It's like, you got to go out there and get it yourself. And we were a joke. Actually, I was a joke, like you said, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to get even a business permit to open my shop. I didn't know that the fire department had to come and
and give me an occupancy permit and they asked for a list of what kind of chemicals I'm keeping here and if I'm storing them right and where are my fire extinguishers and all this shit, right?
I just dealt with a fire marshal a few weeks ago during the pandemic. And then another one came in because that one got transferred. And then he goes, "Oh, if you said you did all this stuff, I trust you. I'll sign off on it." And I go,
I love when that
I just
happens.
stressed so much to get all these extension cables. I didn't realize how much of my life was built on extension cable infrastructure until the fire marshal came.
Yeah, we know a shop that caught on fire, and I think most of it burnt down because of that. But
Yeah.
Extension cords are scary. But we have.
But why do they exist? Never mind. I could go on a different podcast about why do they exist at all? If I'm like, they're just wires. They're in the walls. But I realize
that's what's funny is
I'm
I'm gonna go on a tangent on that for a real quick, and I learned something at a live print because I didn't know that either. The whole extension cord thing. We were at a live print, and I just had I knew to be prepared. I was like, okay, we're gonna need 100-foot heavy duty extension cable because I don't know certain events. I don't know how far away we're gonna be from outlets and all this other stuff. And we did so many events where we were right at the outlet, against the wall or in a pavilion that had an outlet. And I had this 100-foot extension cord on the ground coiled up, and it was plugged in here and plugged in here. And it was really only 3 feet away. And we were at this one event, and this guy was an electrician or something. He knew what he was talking about. He's like, why the fuck do you have such a long, that's horrible. Do you feel how hot this cable is?
It's coiled up to just make it that much more dangerous.
Right. And he's just this is awful. He's you literally, that's why they have different size extension cords is you should use the smallest one for that specific job because the more you have, the more dangerous it is. Or
how thick of an extension cord do I need if one of my guys 10 years ago is going to throw an extension cord up into the rafters over and down so they can run a stereo that's too loud?
Exactly. So I literally have a phobia of them now where I have to go through the shop. We only have a couple extension cords. We have actually one extension cord in use for a heat press, and it's a super heavy duty cable. But anyway, anything that's plugged in at all, I unplug in the shop unless it's something that's more hardwired.
Yeah, and
I
to
unplug everything.
And to answer your question is 0 because that won't pass code. Anyway, here in my city, that won't pass code because it's got to be in conduit. Everything has to. So
yeah, my favorite is when they said, you can have an extension, power strip. I go, okay, well, they need, their iPads are over here, whatever. She goes, yeah, you just can't plug it into extension cable. I'm like, so I can buy a power strip that has a 12-foot long cable and plug it in and that's okay. She goes, yes, that is perfect. And I go, all right. And then we have literally I have a 20-foot power strip. I didn't even know they made something so stupid, but they do.
They do. Yeah. They make everything stupid. You can find it on the internet.
Sorry. I think,
back to doing things and going off on, I don't know if it's a tangent, but just having a different division, maybe. I tried something once too. I had an idea to have merch stores at the actual place. So let's say there was an ice cream store and they were popular, but they're really good at making ice cream and not so good at making shirts, but we're really good at making shirts. So I had this idea of teaming up, and collaborating and saying, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide a rack for you at your store. Maybe they have 3 locations, even at all 3 locations. We'll come up with 4 designs a month, let's say, and we will stock it and inventory it for you. And we were going to charge a premium, of course, for this. But we went out, we got a couple of people to say, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. We did it. And then we dropped the ball because we didn't have the team. And so I think that Dylan, you nailed it, you have to have a team in place to do that kind of stuff because you maybe have this great idea, but we didn't execute it. We didn't execute it properly. And
I feel you need not only to do any of these ideas or any business things you want to do, you can't just have the idea and start working on it. You need to also take a risk on having people as well. You need to go all in.
Well, I thought we did. I thought we had the people, but then it turns out we didn't because that person gets pulled in a different direction. And it actually even turned out that we couldn't even supported the work that would have given us. The designers were too busy to come up with 4 designs
and the point of sale and the accounting reconciliation. I see all sorts of problems, but my whole life is pointing out reasons not to do something cool and new. But I think that idea is cool. It's like bands we do like managed tour services for bands. So like of a certain size, right? You send somebody on the road, you handle all the banking of the cash, and you charge credit cards, and you do all that stuff. But like at a certain size, it's not worth it, because it takes you just as much work to book $30,000 as it does to book $3, because you have all the same expenses, you know, which I know is not your point, by the way, but
no, I mean, what do you mean exactly by at a certain size? It doesn't
like, okay. So my favorite example, because it makes it sound cool, right before COVID, New Year 2020, we did Oprah's arena tour. Okay. And we did full managed tour. So there was a truck on the road. We had two people full-time on the road. It's different because they were arenas, so they collected the money and settled up, but it could work just as well with a band where you're sending them out with iPads using Square or at Venue or whatever, and you're charging cards and it's going to our bank account. It's a service. So we handle that. We handle projections on the merch. The tour pays for the merch. The tour pays for the staff. The tour pays us a rev share split at the end, plus the cost of the merchandise. So it's like an added level service. But that's when there's constant merch being sold all the time, not just like an upsell on checkout at a retail store, you know? Mm-hmm. But again, I'm in the business, but like, I love going to restaurants where they have like really cool shirts on the wall. I love those. And I feel like everyone should love those. But then I'm like, wait, I don't think they print shirts. So I don't think nobody else.
Well, I always think that too. Like I go to like a really cool brewery that we print for or whatever, and you know, they sell a lot of merch. Like they buy a fuckload of merch from us. But the thing is their displays always suck. Like it'll be like the register, and then they have the tap handles, and then they have like shirts like kind of taped to a mirror. You know what I mean? It's like they just have like a couple designs, but they're popular enough where people buy them. But it's like if you just took like one day and like built an actual like nice display and rack, I bet you would double the amount of merch that
we could probably sell at our sports bar. We could probably sell a ton of shirts. We sell these like giant, we sell like a giant Bavarian pretzel, right? It's like bigger than my chest. Okay. And I had my brother who he wanted some shirts for his band. So, and he's an illustrator and stuff. And I was like, hey, make me like a giant Bavarian woman or whatever with a big pretzel and illustrate it for me, and I'll give you all these shirts for free. So we did that and made these cool shirts, or like we have like a huge hot dog. So it's like, like a bar shirt, like the longest wiener in town or whatever, right? But like we don't display these things anywhere. The staff wears them, but like we don't display them to sell. And this is something where I'm like, we thought about this the minute we printed those shirts. We still don't do it. So because nobody's focused on it. Like there's another fire, everything's.
But to go back to Andy's business that didn't work out, like division, like why can't that be something that we take a risk on with some really big customers that do that kind of stuff? Like I should just take a day or two of my own time and go to that brewery and be like, hey, I'm willing to just do this for free. Just like, let me help you make a sweet display, like with my knowledge of how to display things or design, whatever.
Maybe that's a better idea.
And then all you have to do at that point is just rake it in of like their merch sales just doubled because you help them set their shit up. Not necessarily going back and forth.
It's not as glamorous.
The way I was doing it was
set that shit up.
There was no risk to them. So like there's no commitment. It's zero risk. We're gonna take on all this risk because we're gonna design shirts that we know are gonna sell. And so I think the idea would work. It's just that we have to have a definite team in place that is dedicated to that, because otherwise they're going to be pulled in a different direction, doing something else. Just like Dylan, you just said, oh, well, I could go to this bar and approach them and sell them on this, but you're going to have that idea to do that. And you're going to even set out to go do that one day, but you're going to be pulled back into the business for whatever reason, for an email, or all of a sudden you got to be on press because somebody's sick. I mean, that's why
my part of it is like a day or two thing tops. Like I'm just helping them better display their shit to where I know they're going to sell more stuff. And then I'm going to reap the benefits at the shop because they're going to order a lot more merch.
Andy's trying to create that residual.
Right. You want that extra. I'm just trying to be a nice human being.
It's like the episode of The Office. He's like, every time somebody pays with a credit card, I want like 0.2 cents. 0.2 cents.
Well, I wanted it to be that we're coming up, like the designs and the merch is all on us, because I know that we've done it before where they come up with the designs and they're just not very good, because every once in a while we work with a barbecue place that their designs are killer. Their ideas are anyway, the direction, and we take it the rest of the way. But sometimes,
That's what she
you know, if you give it to, if it's up to them, you know, the shirts won't sell. And so we wanted to take on the responsibility of, look, this is no commitment to you. And we're going to design the shirts and we're going to guarantee that they sell. But it's the same reason why we shut down, or we paused, I should say, online stores, is because we don't have the team to support it anymore. You know, like right now we're just too busy. We're pulled in too many different directions. We're stretched too thin, and online stores take a lot of time. You know, there's a lot of extra time, and yeah, you charge a premium for them, and they will work, but we're so busy and we're in overtime now that we had to say, wait a second. I actually have a person here that I hired specifically to run online stores, yet she's doing other stuff, you know? And so we had to pause on online stores. And I hate to say that, but we have to have not only the team in place, but we have to revise our plan with online stores because I think they're very complicated.
You know, I want to revise something I said before. I want to say that starting a lot of this stuff, if we were as analytical and aware of all the information here as we are now, and the numbers and the plans and just the intelligence of doing things like normal people, so much of what we've built would not be here, because we had to make a lot of stupid moves. Or like you're saying, oh, it doesn't make sense. We have all overtime and this and that. Like, we built online stores back when like we didn't even know you had to pay payroll tax. Like, we're just like, and I can say this because we paid penalties and interest a long time ago through certified check to the government as a penalty for it. We used to just write checks, man. Like, here, thanks for working. Here's your check. And then later workers' comp audit comes and it becomes like a thing, you know? So like we didn't, like, some of this stuff, it's just we had the, like, when I say infrastructure, it's like shelves and like someone who would do it in their spare time. But we didn't have the standards, let's say, of our business at the time. We were more scrappy than we are now, where we have like higher standards. Like, you have 200 something racks out there with like a team of however many people, but it wasn't always like that. I mean, it was a joke at first, as I said.
Well, I want to go back to real quick, because I wasn't done with that, where it's funny that we were talking about like designing shirts for places and restaurants and stuff, because I saw a meme today that I saved on my phone, and it was Southern restaurant t-shirts are always like, I got my hog sucked off at a big porker barbecue. I just want Andy to make those like dirty barbecue shirts. Like, that's the business he's looking to get into, is to just make like super.
Those will sell.
Vibe. I get that vibe from you, Andy. Like,
Yeah.
I just get that vibe. You're just like,
That's the direction.
dude.
He can't get it out on his own, and he just wants to get it out in shirt form for all these companies. It's funny. We used to do a huge clam bake place. Like, I don't know if you guys know who Hinterwaddles is, but they're like the inventor of the salt potato. And we used to do like a lot of huge events at their place. They have this like oasis of a place in Syracuse where you would go, and they had all these huge corporate events, and it was like this big clam bake. But we'd always go there and we'd print shirts. But like the lady who owned it was super dirty, and like we loved her. She was amazing. But like all of her shirts were always just like, I got shucked at Hinterwaddles, or like they were like, I slurped and sucked and whatever. And it was like, got raw at Hinterwaddles, because it was all about clams.
It was a different time when those places started, and they just really clung to that style.
Yeah. And it was so amazing that it was just like, we're printing what today?
There's a company we print for, and they are like a construction company. And on the back of the shirts, it says, we specialize in erections. And like, they actually wear this around town, and the girls that work there, they order a shirt where that tagline is gone. Like, we have to make a separate screen.
It'd be way better if they wore that shirt.
Right.
We had years ago, we had just like some, you know, clothing company client, some high school kid, and he printed these shirts that said like, it was been the big text and foil era, right?
Yeah.
And it was like something about something inappropriate. His girl gives something the most inappropriate, right? And then he's like, okay, like a week later, he comes back, he goes, hey, the school's making us turn our shirts inside out. So I need you to print FU on the inside of the shirt.
Perfect. See, I was that
I don't know
kid
that
in
we
high
ever
school.
heard from him again.
I was that kid in high school who had my shirt turned inside out quite a bit. It was always like some horrible metal shirt that was just like grotesque or whatever. Or it was, my stepdad had those Big Johnson shirts. Do you remember those? Where it was just like the company was Big Johnson, and it was always like
You
a
would.
cartoon
Is
thing
that like
on the
the
back
crude
about-
version of Big Dog clothing?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just like the R-rated version of like.
Yeah. And I would wear those to school. And then I like after like first or second period, and they finally caught on. They're like, Mr. Gilligan, will you go turn that inside out?
I was recently looking for an old Bloodhound Gang shirt I had that just looked like a restroom sign. You know, it was just silhouette of like a white cartoon. It was like pee pee poo poo music or whatever. And I remembered, I'm like, wait, my mom hated this shirt. Like I bought it secretly. And then I asked her, I'm like, where did that shirt go? She goes, oh, I threw that away one day. When you were like,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. So did you guys have any businesses that you started that you didn't have high hopes for, but ended up working out really well?
I mean, it depends who you talk to, I guess, around here, you know? There's, like I said, I play the role of just kind of like throwing darts at things and trying to see like, what are we not thinking about and stuff. So in a sense, like our social media conference, Alex likes to rub in my face a lot. Like after the first year, we lost so much money. I was like, do not do this. Do not do this again. And now it's like awesome. 10 years later, it took like 3 years to get going. And then it's like amazing. And he likes to remind me of that. And I go, that's okay. Just because this and not this, you know,
Right.
I could be wrong. I'm okay being wrong. You know,
Now, what is that thing?
so Playlist Live is like a social media fan conference. So there's like, it's at the World Center Marriott in Orlando, this huge hotel conference center. And we basically take over the hotel. The poor hotel staff has to deal with tweens, pressing all the buttons in the elevators, crazy like social media influencer antics. We do scheduled reserved like meetups. So like we'll set up like 10 creators in these scheduled rooms twice a weekend, and you pre-register to meet like a whole group, and you just kind of go through the line in a meet and greet. We also have stage and panel performances and appearances. So it's like a business day kind of thing. It's very much like conference centric, but it's really fan focused. So like in California, there's VidCon, which is like massive, and they got bought by Viacom. But
now, do you guys do things like that just because you had the idea and you're like, I could pull this off? Or do you do that in a sense of like, if we do this, we could get more contacts to fulfill more of like the merch side of things?
So it was actually backwards. So we started doing real merch. And when I say real merch, I mean the stuff that we make, as opposed to like Cafe Press and all this stuff that existed back in like the mid 2000s, where it was like these social media influencers. They weren't influencers at the time. They were called like YouTubers. Right. And it was mostly viral. There wasn't even like the community. It was like, we did Chris Crocker's merch, Unforgivable, like Chocolate Rain, like all these videos that went viral. We did all that stuff. And like, we would bring them to like Bamboozle in New Jersey. And we had this signing with like Chris Crocker and the Unforgivable guy or whatever. And we did all that. And we started creating all these contacts in like the YouTube community. And we had this one guy who was just like we're like, what's a vlogger? Like it was different then. And we're like, oh my God, he's selling so many shirts, this scene dude, like this is amazing. And then we kind of broke into that world. And then we took those contacts and we said, why don't we have an event with all of them? And we'll just have the whole room surrounded by merch tents. We'll have our staff working it, and we'll have some stage stuff. And people out here would never be able to see these people. And we did that. And it's obviously changed and transformed. It started off where we couldn't even give 800 tickets away, to the point now where it sells out at like 12,000 people or whatever it is now.
That's awesome.
But it took a long time to get there. And to answer your question, it was something I said, let's not do it again. But
So this was
You can't be
something-
right all the time, you know?
And this was something
I
so
tell
that you
people
could, like you wanted to print their merch, and that's why you wanted to have.
It was just a relationship thing. We're like, well, we can, because I mean, there was a conference like this. I mean, it was the year after VidCon in Anaheim was created, you know, and we're like, wow, that was crazy. It was just in the basement of some hotel. And we're like, well, this seems cool. There's nothing on this coast. We should do something. And then the merch thing is something I take with it now. So like now I take the approach of, let's have our entire showroom of stuff thrown up on a chain link fence in the green room. I want them to see our stuff and be like, who does that merch? And I'll staff it with 3 people, just like talking casually, you know, and collecting leads every time.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. But just like with music, it's more relationship based. So you just want to have a presence so they recognize you and that kind of thing. So like I said, it started with the connections first and then went to it, but it wasn't to sell t-shirts, you know, to be clear. But now it's kind of like a bonus, but it's a sponsor revenue and a ticket thing.
Now, we are kind of a print podcast, so we should probably talk about it a little bit. But you said you guys started out, you got like cap stuff and some manuals. Like how did you, because you guys weren't printers, how did you end up getting into the business and acquiring like skilled printers, and then eventually you grew into whatever you are now?
So, we, like, part of my hesitation in like even participating in this podcast is I'm always like, I'm not like the print guy. Okay. And I feel like a lot of obviously owner operators that you talk to and stuff are, like, obviously I know enough about like what's going on out there, but I have over the years, we've kind of had, the MacGyvers to the like newbies who were trained up by MacGyver to like 3 generations down. But when it started, it was, we partnered with someone who knew how to screen print, like the kind of dude who walked into our bathroom and came out with a screen and we didn't have anything. And I'm like, what did that guy just do in there that made that? Like, I had no idea. To when he left, we had somebody got trained up to learn, like, I don't know, maybe a week's crash course, which is apparently what a lot of people who start off have. And he started off printing for us, and everything was just crappier back then, right? So it was 1 colors and 2 colors, and it was just not that big of a deal. Then we went from the cap stuff to, and I don't think we hired any experienced screen print. I don't think until way later were we actually hiring experienced screen printers. It was like homegrown, groomed, like staff,
Right.
Which is
You
kind
just
of
trained within kind of thing.
Yeah, which I was listening to something you said not too long ago, where you're like, just the area I'm in, I can't find experienced printers or whatever. And you're like, I just train people up. But we find it easier because it's just faster. I mean, there's press operators around here. I mean, COVID aside, there are, but it's, my production manager says that they come with habits, and, sometimes they like here, there's other things about this place maybe they don't like or whatever. But we went from caps to workhorse blended with M&R to straight up M&R. And that's where we are now. And now we're automating stuff. So we just automated the dark room. And now we're just like waiting for an electrician's analysis on exactly how much power we have before I have to put in another transformer to do more stuff.
Right. Where do you guys see your next you said you just did stuff in the darkroom. What did you guys end up getting?
So we got an eye image and then an eco rinse. And I've been hassled to do that for so long, and I felt just so dumb. Like, I just felt so bad, like, for how much resistance there was on it. Not like just kind of arbitrarily or budget wise or whatever was going
Resistance on which? The eco rinse?
Like from our side, just whatever, like pick a card, like it was just, it's so much money, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, can we get staff and just kind of make it better or whatever? And now I'm just like, oh, and I apologize to everybody. I'm like, I'm sorry it took us so long to like get on board with this,
Yeah.
But it also took me learning a lot from the outside sources, not the guy who's selling me the equipment or someone who works for me who, it's not that I don't trust them. It's just, I'm like, I don't know. Like I didn't know. And then I watch all this stuff. I'm like, okay, check the electrical, cause we need auto reclaim now. I go, they're like
Exactly.
one guy doing over 50 something a day. I'm like, this is insane.
Well, it's tough. I mean, deciding which piece of equipment is next, and so maybe you bought a press before you bought an eye image, or like a third press before you got an eye image, or a fourth press. I don't know how many presses you have, but I mean, those are difficult decisions.
We have 6 now, but remember, you may not know this, but we had a joint venture with Glad Rags Inc. in California in Pomona. Okay. And then we ended up kind of rolling that in to just be a West Coast AKT shop. And then we just kind of said, you know what? And we talked to everybody and we're like, listen, we're going to just make this, we're going to get 2 semis or whatever. We're going to load them up, and we're just going to bring everything here, and we're going to make this into like the best shop that we can. So Robert,
some of the team too.
The only team we could actually get to come here was Robert, who's my director of operations, and Matt, who's my production manager. And both of them moved out here, their girlfriends, wives, they moved out here, you know what I mean? And it was like a big commitment, and it was a big commitment for them, which we really, really appreciated, but it's like a huge deal.
Well, at least you got the people you needed for that. You know what I mean? Like you needed those positions.
Exactly. I mean, we still shifted things around, but it kind of worked out. We kind of have that luck where like, oh, this person wants to be more account management. Great. Perfect. because this guy is going to take that job. Here we go. Boom. And we kind of shuffled some bodies around. So we're very fortunate, you know, but we've been talking lately as we revamp our sales department, and we're talking about, okay, what is the true capacity? And now is not a good time to talk because we're doing more now in one shop with the same presses we always had here than we were doing with 2 shops with 50% more presses or whatever, 60, something like that. It is insane what is happening right now. And remember, my clients, they're not like flexible. Like they're not like letting that happen.
They want it now.
Yeah. And we're very sales. Robert always describes us. He goes, we're a very sales oriented company. We always have been. And I think that is because Alex and I were never like, yes, we would screen, like I would manually screen print stuff back in the day and we would do stuff like that. But it grew to the point, like we were so sales focused, we would always have people to do that stuff. And we were, you know, learning to do it in real time on real orders, practicing or whatever. But, you know, we did that. And I think that's why it's hard for us to see that other side sometimes. And we're getting really good at that. So determining the quota now, or like the capacity now, and then determining, okay, what's the tipping point for a staggered shift? And then would we want to do an overnight shift? And I'm like, I feel like that's a nightmare. Let's just add more equipment at that point or something like that. I don't know. And I remember hearing you, Andy, say the other day for me, like, you're like, well, I don't want to be this shop that has all these presses or do I, and the business might be there or whatever. And that, like, you know, we can save that for later because I wrote down a few questions I want to ask you guys, but it's like, that is tricky to manage. And I still don't know what I'm doing. It's 15 years later. We're still kind of trying to figure it out. But the sales versus production thing is this. And I think that's a good thing. And it's always going to be there, you know?
Yeah. I think, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you to a degree where I'm very in the office sales marketing. Like that's what I've always done from the beginning. Like I was never the printer. I was just like, the brains of like, let me get the sale in, we'll figure out how to do it. And I'm always doing research. I'm always learning things about printing and I'm taking it out there and I'm talking to my team and I'm giving it to them and I'll be out there and we'll figure it out and we'll get it going. And then once they get it going and get good at it, I step back and I go back to doing the sales in the office and all this other stuff. But one thing that I learned that really helps, and it goes back to you saying you got the eye image and all this stuff and why do we wait so long, is if somebody's sick or somebody's out in the shop, I try to go, like, I want it to be me that fills in for the most part. Like if, you know, we had it to where we had a guy in the dark room last year that had to leave, like he had to quit for a reason. I was in the dark room for like 3 months.
Why do you want it to be you that fills in though?
Because I want to learn where the holes are in that area. You know, it's a perfect opportunity for me to walk in the dark room and be like, okay, like, why are we still using these screens? Or I'm looking at this wall here where they every day take clean screens, coat and put them on the wall. And I'm like, we're using an inefficient, like homemade fucking screen rack.
I hear you.
Years ago.
I hear you.
I fix things and I'm like, okay, well, this wall, I can add another 200 screens in this exact same area if I use an aluminum rack that's custom for this wall. Or, you know, this thing on the iImage sucks. Let's get a new one, or let's automate this, or let's fix this. And then when I finally get to leave that department, it's way better than it was when I left. Like he could look at it in the office and be like, well, I don't think we need an Ecotex yet because it seems to be working fine. But if you had to go out there and clean screens yourself for a month, you would have fucking ordered that thing 2 weeks in.
Andy, I'm so happy I got to be here for the moment where you make the face you made, because Dylan, you remind me of my business partner, Grant, a lot, where you're not wrong. You're not wrong in this case. But what he's going to say is, why does it have to be you? Shouldn't that be happening anyways? Or like checking in on process. It's like Undercover Boss, right? Without the TV and the drama and the silliness. But like I'm fortunate enough where I have Robert, my director of operations, where he's like my ninja. I throw him into like things. He's way more patient than I am. He's way more precise than I am, but he's over time, we speak the same language, and he is like, he literally looks like a mini me, but he thinks like a better like mini version of me too. So like he'll go in and look and go, this fulfillment process is messed up during COVID, or that warehouse, I went there and picked from it all weekend and it is insane. And I reorganized the whole thing. So, but if you are that person in your organization, it makes sense.
Right. You know, well, that's my thing.
Happens to be you because nobody else is there to do it.
I don't have someone else to do that. Like they might be complacent and be like,
or do you?
This is fine.
Hold on a second. Or do you have somebody else that could do that? Because and maybe they don't have the opportunity, or like Jared said, you're not checking in, because I'm guilty of that too. Maybe it is that we as shop owners aren't checking in enough with different departments to find out that there are inefficiencies, or better yet, we don't have the right person, because all of our employees, out of all of them, not every single one is going to be in a role and then go beyond expectations and say, you know what, actually, I do this thing here, 1, 2, 3 every day. And this process is this process, but you know what? It would be better if we did it like this. And not because your process is wrong. It's just because we're evolved now. We're a different company and it would work better like this. No, and if they were to come to me and say that, well, then I wouldn't have to wait for them to be sick and me be in their role to discover it on my own. You know what I mean?
You're yelling at me right now. The guy. Calm down, Dad.
Well, no, but I do the same thing as you're talking about. Like I'm back there pulling tape and I'm like, why are we pulling tape? This sucks. The tape we're using or whatever, we got to use different tape, or why do we even have tape at all? And so why didn't the person who's pulling tape come and tell me that sucked, and they didn't.
I feel like I do have the staff where they do exactly what you said. Like if they find a better method, they come to me and we discuss it and we implement the better method.
You tell them, fuck off. No,
I say, hey, fuck you. Go back to work. You piece of shit. You get paid by the hour.
I'm going to go back and do your job after you quit. After you resent me. Don't worry about it. I'll figure it out later.
I'll get it.
No, but so like this comes to like, one-on-ones. Like when I talk to anyone here, okay. And by the way, it took me 14 years to get an in-house Robert. Like this did not exist before. It was insanity, like underperforming areas or problems that we just tolerated, or people saying, that's how we've always done it, right? So there isn't that feedback loop of like the one-on-ones that need to exist. When I talk to managers or anyone, I'm like, if one-on-ones aren't happening, that's the number one problem. And it's about they're talking about their career or talking about what could be improved in this department. Ultimately, we end up creating required one-on-ones for management because it's the first thing to get deprioritized, sort of like social media. Something hits the fan and we're like, whatever, get the job done. And we don't do something that is in its own way necessary. But like that, our feedback loop doesn't exist. Even like you're saying, Dylan, they'll come to you and say, oh, we found a better way to do it. That happens sometimes. I had a guy in the shipping line go, we can ship this a totally different method if I saw off this piece of a poster tube. And there was like a brand new employee who was making, I don't know, whatever at the time. And it saved like $6,000 on a massive pre-order.
And what did you do? What did you do when you recognized that this person is a problem solver? They care enough.
Donuts and milk.
I don't it was many years ago. I don't remember, but I still tell the story. The legacy lives on. Is that enough? I think about it now, but I also know it's impossible to force that thought into everybody, especially when you're so spread thin sometimes. And
so true. But I think that's how we find our managers. I think that's how you find a Robert, is that when somebody behaves like that and is ambitious, let's say, and wants to do extra, or, hey, you know what, if I stay late, not to run this press, but if I stay late, I can, work on this and it would make our process better. When you have that sort of person, then all of a sudden, I think that maybe you can't do it right then because maybe, they're in that role and you've got to find somebody to promote into their role. But I want to make sure that they're aware that I know that they think in a way that would be really great as maybe a manager, or I don't know about a manager, but as someone as like an R&D person, you know what I mean? That's going to solve problems, because not everybody wants to do that.
Well, the reason what I was saying is the reason why I go out and I do these things is that the people that work here and they are in it and they love what they're doing, but they're not doing research and finding new, better ways to do things. Or if they know that there's a new piece of equipment that would solve this. You know what I mean? They're just looking at, this is what I do every single day. I'm doing it to the best of my abilities. And then I'm like, oh, well, I learned on the shirt show from Jared that he does it this way. And I come out and I'm like, oh, this is actually a better way that nobody here thought of before. And I implement that. Or with the dark room, it was like, I know from doing all the shit with M&R that like this piece of equipment can get me better results. Or the companies that I have, like Frank, where it's like, all right, I know I can get custom racking made or whatever. And it's like, that's where I come into play out there, and being in a certain situation where I'm like, I've seen equipment, I've watched a video, I heard someone talking about this thing. Let's implement this better practice. So they're giving me that one-on-one feedback.
Shouldn't you be wandering around and just going like on your own one-on-one with yourself, going, okay, I'm going to do an inventory of what could or couldn't be improved based on things I know? Like, it's impossible.
That's what happens. That's what I do.
Right. So you get, well, I wish I want to be like that. Like I can't, it's my own self that like stops me from doing it, because I'm like, nah, I got to handle this or this email or whatever.
I feel like every time I go out in the shop, I make notes on my phone, and then I have to come back in the office and order things either like on Amazon or like Northern Tool. I'm like, oh, it'd be, it was a hot summer day and I helped pull on press. I'm like, it'd be really nice if there was a fan mounted on the wall up here, or like this would make their lives better. Or if I got a fucking 30-foot duster to like dust the top of the exhaust ducts. It's just stupid shit like that I think about, and I'm like,
living room, because it goes up like really high. I stole the one that I bought here. We had attached Sandlot style to get the fuzz for years before, old management, like everyone was using spray tack all the time or whatever, and then it was fuzz all on the ceiling, right? So I'm like, okay, I got an idea, guys. So I buy this like 30-foot like collapsible telescoping thing, and I go, we're going to connect a shop vac. We're going to connect all the extender tubes, and we're going to do it. Then what I didn't consider, it worked on paper. Then you build it, and it's like this thing is just like flopping back and forth.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So we ended up just renting a scissor lift and just getting air compressors and blowing it down. But to your point, like from ShireKong Instagram alone, I've taken 2 takeaways. One that is not resolved and is an open argument. The other is
Andy needs therapy. Number 1.
No. We can.
Hey, I think we all could use a little.
Next. I want to talk about that next. So, first was I go, we relaunched our social media like towards the end of the pandemic, like I don't know, 4 months ago or something, right? And I'm like, these stories suck. I go, they got like a cinematographer over there at ShireKong, man. I'm like, they're like rolling sideways. I'm like, we need to do it like that. It just changes the entire look, right? So I don't know if that's you or someone else, but a lot of respect for that.
That's a combination effort, but Chad, yes. And it's all usually just an iPhone. It's nothing
exactly.
fancy.
But like the idea is like the movement makes a difference. So we took away from that and I go, this is awesome. Sort of like this app I found that glitches promo graphics for bands and makes like a little jittery thing. I go, that changes the band's perspective of how cool this graphic is. They're going to be more happy about it or whatever. The other was I go, this was literally Friday. I go, hey, I'm going on Church Show. I go, how come every day ShireKong's posting this dude taping screens and they're not using masking tape? What's that? Because like I said, I don't know everything, and we got a whole argument here, like it deteriorates the emulsion or whatever, whatever. And I go, all right, well, as long as you guys are thinking about it, don't make it a money thing, whatever makes the most sense, Right. So like we learn that stuff constantly, and I'm not.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I love looking at other people's Instagrams too, or whatever. Or even these shows. There's Dylan and I both have learned so much. I mean, not just of little shop hacks, but just how to think about business in general. I was to the point though of this leadership style that I think it sounds like we all have. I was listening to this podcast. And I don't know if you ever heard of Brene Brown, but she was on How I Built This. And she was talking about exactly this. And that is the 2 ways to lead. And there is one that is, typed this just a second ago. There's one that is being a knowing leader and versus being a learning leader. And I think that, here's the difference. So being a learning leader being a knowing leader is being right all the time. I know how to do this. This is how we do it. And we know how to do this already. Versus being a learning leader is you're being committed to getting it right. And no matter what it is. And so if the process doesn't work, or if I make a mistake as a leader, or if something that used to work doesn't work now, I'm committed to making it right. And so just being open to that. And her whole thing is like vulnerability, because that's a vulnerable place to be, because it's, I guess you're exposed to those mistakes.
We literally just talked about this Friday, because
you and me?
not me and you, but we might have.
I don't remember.
Because we have our heart-to-heart chats. But I have it where now we have press ops moving. You know what I mean? We have different people on different presses, or we have different teams together because of the staffing issues I had or whatever. And me and Brian for about a month were pulled out of the office and put on the gauntlet to get jobs done. And Brian is super particular. Like, he has his own way of doing things, and he's like, nope, this is a little bit faster. And he was showing me, like, just tear down and setups. He's like, oh, it's easier if you half index the press here, and you take the screen out, drop it down, and then you can squeegee ink off, and then you can take the squeegees out this way and whatever else. And he was showing me all this stuff. And I was talking to him. I was like, I bet every person here who's a press op or a helper or whatever has their own way of doing things. And this goes back to that whole SOP thing that we were talking about and we had a production meeting about. But we were talking on Friday, we're like, on Monday, we need to get together as a crew out there and actually figure out the best method for doing certain tasks. Like, Zach and Bill were together, and they both have totally different ways of tearing down and setting jobs up. And Bill was like, I can make things faster doing it this way. Zach is having a really hard time with me doing it that way because he likes it doing it his way. But they're supposed to be working together as a team just to fucking get the jobs done. So
is that Elder Zach?
Elder Zach, yeah. So I told Bill, I was like, what we need to do on Monday is actually figure out what is the best possible method for doing this, and let's stick to that. And whoever has the subpar method or whatever just has to, like, suck it up, kind of.
So that part right there,
we need to evolve as a company.
In that particular role, right? Where it's, depending on the person, it's artisan, craftsman, technician, all rolled into one, right? So, but there can also, with that comes, historically, potentially some attitude, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, the suck it up part is a problem, is it not? Because a lot of people,
I know. I'm saying it like an
that.
asshole right now. Like, I'm saying it's easy to just say suck it up. But, like, the thing is Bill's method might be half the time it takes for Zach to do his job, or Zach might have a method that's half the time as Bill's way of doing it. Yeah. I just want to present it and put it on the table, because I don't think they each talk to each other enough to be like, well, I do it this way, and this is why I do it this way. We
talk about this from sales to production to fulfillment. It doesn't matter. We talk about, like, almost like like refresher courses on stuff, things that are you've learned and maybe did right forever, but it's kind of slowly creeped into some terrible, weird way, or in this case, less effective, and you just do it, or you don't know any better, or whatever. There's all these tips and tricks in this organization that I have it all in my head because I've seen every piece of nonsense that's occurred, and the people under me have seen maybe, I don't know, best case 70% of that. And the same thing goes with on the shop floor, I would imagine. So like, these are the things, like, when for us, it's hard to say no, right? It's hard for us to not be at capacity because we can't figure out, like, I hear on this, say no. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I can relate our business model more to what I've learned about yours, Andy, because, like, a lot of times, like, Dylan will say, like, no, man, like, don't redo that order or whatever. Like, if it's your fault, fine, whatever. And you're just like, dude, just do it, man. Like, just get it over. That's kind of how we are, which sucks because I don't want to be that way. And it breeds. No,
I'm cutting it. We're editing this to where you just said, this sucks. And saying, whatever, like, you say after.
I'm saying it sucks to have to do that. But going back to what I said before, wouldn't it be easier without all these clients? Yeah. And we have to look and go, it's like taking the high road on these things, but I don't know. It just feels like we talk about, like, standard operating procedure. Like, there's so many things that we have learned to do on our own that were just common sense things. But like, we built this from, just messing around, figuring it out. I'm like,
right.
Oh, cool. So, like, that's called a standard operating procedure. Cool, man. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, you don't think like that when you just, it's been my whole life, my whole adult life has been this place in one weird version of it or not.
Oh, 100%. And that's
context of the world. Like,
that's why it's taken me all these years to just be like, all right, you know what makes the most sense is when someone gets X amount of knowledgeable about a topic and they feel like they've somewhat mastered that thing, write it fucking down. Like, why are we not writing shit down? Because if one employee does it a way where it's like, holy shit, you figured out how to make this like the best possible quality, the best possible speed, do the whole thing, write that down. And that's what we should be doing as our baseline for every person here should know that task.
Continued education is so important within, like, this is a do as I say, not as I do moment. And I have so many of these, and it matters from production to sales to leadership, like you have to do that.
Yeah.
And to your point of always fix stuff when it goes wrong. I wasn't always like that, like I've learned that along the way. So years and years ago, I had that same thought, like, wait, no, we showed you a proof. You approved it. It's wrong. Too bad, And so I learned though, along the way that that's not how you build relationships. And so I didn't know that was important when I was younger. I didn't know that the success of this place hinges on exactly that. Just for us anyway, our business model, it hinges on and is built upon relationships. And so you destroy a relationship when you say, too bad, go away, and so
I just want to tell a customer, too bad, so sad.
Dude, there are times, it's hard. And when we have people whose job it is to bring in money, like business, it's truly hard. Because they're coming out of a pandemic where they took a prorated hit, just like everyone else did here. And like, they are being told, like, their client's being unreasonable. Okay, it's not their fault. I mean, half the time, maybe it is their fault, but the other half, it's the client's fault. And it could have been, and you kind of end up like everyone's pushing to get it done here, And I think that's pretty typical when you have a sales program, as opposed to just like, I don't know, passive inquiries coming in or whatever, there's a lot of ways to do it. So we have that extra pressure of like, I don't want to let this person down. I don't want this person to be upset. They, this is their big sale. They've been nurturing it forever. It's hard for us to do that. I don't know why I was going on that one.
I fully get it though, because it is based on what niche or what market you're in. Like you're in a specific one where I feel like some of the clients, like you were saying, the Oprah thing or whatever, it's like, that's one I feel like you would have to ultra baby and like,
oh yeah,
definitely fix shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Alex, I mean, there was somebody at a high level at every single one of those shows. Thankfully, unlike bands who tour and it's night on, there it was a week on, a week off. So we had like time to like get these rush orders out. But now look at every huge touring band ever. Then tie that to people being afraid of tours getting canceled. Now people grinding you down always for sport. Now people racing to the bottom on pricing. That's a niche to the entertainment industry that is great and wonderful. And I'll always love the entertainment industry, but we don't just do that, So we'll do a lot of B2B stuff too. And that's a big push that like Grant and I have right now, is just kind of expand to make it nice and even again, between business and music.
To clarify also, I would say one last part of that is that's what works for our shop, and shops that have a similar model as ours. I mean, there's definitely shops out there, because you were mentioning niches, that have a niche, that have a waiting list, and they're booking jobs 6 weeks, 8 weeks further out than that. Yeah. And they can pick and choose who they're printing for, and they don't want to grow. Let's say they have one press or whatever, 2 presses, doesn't matter. And they say, this is our capacity. We're maxed out. And we're booked out for this many months, and doesn't matter.
Do you think it's a marketing angle, or do you think it's like they just don't, maybe in some cases, maybe people don't have that drive to be like, I can't imagine a world. Okay, I can't imagine it, but I don't imagine a world here for real where like we go, all right, we're going to stop here. We're going to go, no, where's the next tipping point based on the data to justify the next growth move, and what do we need to do to support it? Like that's just like default in my mind.
I think that they maybe have a blue ocean. I think it's that they have the blue ocean and they figured it out, and they have a demand for their service and product and their expertise and their style or whatever. And it doesn't matter, and they don't want to grow. They're happy with where they're at, and they're happy with that style. They don't answer the phone type of a place. You can't even walk in their shop, type of thing. And
was it was it Bruce did a shop tour of this dude in Boston, and he goes, oh yeah, I mean, we took all our signage down and said by appointment only, because it was getting a ton of like clothing lines and stuff coming in. And I know we all know how that can be, like the next big thing walking in. And I just was like, I sent a message. I'm like, dude, I love your evidence. Like, I just love the attitude, but I also know I love it because we practically
it's your guilty pleasure.
No, it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna tell him no. Don't even open the door. Don't just go, sorry, we're closed. Like, you're like, don't even open to talk to the person. You're
like, pretend I'm a customer real quick. Tell me no.
It's weird. Like,
well, it's that tattoo shop mentality too, of like you're an artist and you have like your specific way, like your style. And you're like, all right, let me book it up. And then I tell everybody, hey, sorry, my book's full for 3 months. Like,
even when we had the shop in Pomona, right? And Robert and Matt were running the shop out there. There was still like, we were competing against ourselves because they were better at saying no. And there was somebody here my production manager here would be like, just say yes all the time. And the same deadline ends up happening. Like, you're just saying yes. So we were our own customer in a sense, but that's the difference between us. And I think a lot of people who I see like talking in general on whether it's your show or whatever, it's like, it's a lot of owner operator, I can't relate to a lot of it. So in a sense, I almost feel like I don't like belong because like, I'm not like out there. But that's, but here we are, we have all these other assets. I like to tell myself, I go, oh, you do all these other things too.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is I've been talking about here personally on the show for months now about how, we've always kind of said no to certain things and, pricing and like all this other stuff, the issues that we were having with, and over the past, months or whatever, I've figured a lot of that shit out. Like, we redid all of our pricing and we had this big production meeting or sales meeting like 2 weeks ago where we said, we're going to start saying no to this type of client. And if any email comes in that has a red flag at all, we're turning that customer down or referring them to someone else, because I just want to do what we're good at. And I want to like focus on that and everything else. So 2 weeks ago or whatever, we implemented, okay, this is our new pricing chart. This is what we're sticking to. And we're going to say no to red flags. And now we're finding a whole new hurdle that we never even anticipated, where people aren't taking no for an answer.
No, they're like, what if we do this? What if we do that? And you're probably now like
so many people right now, like
their job for them. And it's just as bad as it was the first time.
Well, I feel like some of these customers did their research and they were like, oh, we really want to work with you because you kind of do exactly what we're looking for. And we want to do this whole thing. And we have to be like, sorry, like we're not taking on new customers right now, or we're booked up to this or whatever. And they're like, well, and they send us like, we literally say no, like, sorry, we can't take this order. Like, here's someone else, or we just can't do it. Yeah. Okay. And then we get that next email that's like, they start getting a little pissy and they're like blah, 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 blah. And we're like, sorry, sir. Like, we said no, like, I'm sorry.
Now you've taken what was going to be like a passive smooth, like, oh, maybe they'll just find another place. Now somebody hates you. And now you've like created an anti-sale, which is worse than no sale at all.
Well, it's funny. Like, we have one guy right now that just keeps emailing us. And like, literally Sarah came in the office the other day and she just had a laugh, like a smirk on her face. As soon as she came in the office, I was like, what? Anytime Sarah brings me in her phone, I know it's shitty. Like, I know it's not, because she has an email on her phone. She's walking it up to me to be like, read this shit. And she comes up to my desk and just slides it on my desk. And I'm like, what? And she's like, it's that guy. She's like, he literally won't take no for an answer. And I was like, I don't know how many more times you can tell him no. So just don't answer him. Like, literally ignore him.
So, I mean, you raised your minimums, you raised your pricing.
We raised minimums, raised pricing, and now we're turning down anything that's even a remote red flag.
But weren't your minimums like super low? Didn't you have like something really low? Like
originally it was 12 to 24. And now
that's just like one color or something.
It's like 1 to 4 colors is like 12 to 24. So we ended up not going crazy. Like we ended up just saying 24 is our minimum, but we changed pricing structure to make it to where it was more appealing to obviously do like 100 to 1,000 or whatever. So like anything under 100 is like, it's not horrible pricing. It's just not desirable. So like we want to do on press more of the like 100 to 500 to 1,000 piece orders daily.
With our shutdown of those retail stores or the retail print shop like DTG embroidery things. So we got out of embroidery completely, and we'll just use local partners or remote partners and source it. And it's just simpler. Like I was the one, my business partner Grant and I were the ones who used to figure it out. Like I used to do all this stuff. I'm like, dude, the amount of variables that go into this is insane. Just source it. And if we lose an order for it, fine. It wasn't worth the money, you know?
Right. Yep.
But DTG became a big part of our life. No minimums. Okay. And quality is like whatever. It's fine. We couldn't subsidize it in the best way for our business because it can't really produce good enough quality for me to minimize my shelf stock for these like a lot of amazing clients who force us to front their stock in their store until it sells. Right. But now we're talking about, okay, well, we're off of a main road here, and, you know, our sales department will get a lot of people walking in, and the amount of time you spend talking to people is crazy. And I don't care when we have plenty of staff, because I'm like, okay, and usually the newbies will have to deal with the walk-ins and deal with this stuff. And you spend like 45 minutes on average talking about art. And I asked, this only came up because we lost a couple people during all this stuff. And now we have very few account managers. So like lunch scheduling became crazy. Like there's all sorts of weird drama that like doesn't make sense until you're hearing about it. Like you'd be like, oh, like, so just stagger your lunches or something, and somebody's always there. So I'm talking to them myself, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I ask a few questions, and I realize they spend an average of 45 minutes on art. The average order for a walk-in is 2 shirts. They charge $19.99. I go, we are losing money before anything. Let's not do that anymore.
This is 100% my point.
Now I'm fighting the issue in my head, by the way, and we'll get back to therapy in a second. I'm fighting the issue in my head of but what if they're going to bring something bigger, right?
Yeah.
Which is a very real thing that could happen, right? But probably I look and nobody even knows. They'll probably hear about it first here before I start talking to them about it. But it's like, I say, don't offer anything under 36 or 24 for one color, or whatever the tiered increase is, you know, for the amount of setups or whatever. But let's figure that out and do that and get rid of it, because we even look at the revenue, everything under 24 units for the whole year. And I go, we were losing money on all of that. So it wasn't even net positive. And I think it almost creates a desire psychologically. They won't shoo away business that they would bring to you. It'll make them say, I'm big enough now to work with Shurkong or to work with AKT or whatever. Like, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I'll see how far I can get with Grant on that this week. But
well, that's the part of it is kind of like, it's not necessarily that you're looking at it. It's like, okay, well, we're taking a 24-piece order or we're taking a 12-piece order. It's exactly the fact that, and everyone in our industry knows this, it's the person who orders 12 shirts is the person who is the biggest time suck of like 35 emails deep to get your 12 shirts.
I built during that same conversation where I learned all that stuff, I said, okay. I said to them, here's what we're going to do. What are the questions you need to ask to determine where's the line in your head? 36 shirts. Okay, great. 36 shirts. If they don't seem like somebody who's going to print 36 shirts, let's put them somewhere. An online form is weird, but I don't think anybody will walk into an industrial building and expect to sit down and work on their artwork immediately unless you tell them that that's possible. I just don't think that's a realistic expectation. So I said, what if I'll make a sheet? So I made a little, quick questionnaire. They fill out their name, product 1, 2, 3. I have more than 3 products. Do I have art? Is art 100% ready to go? Or I have an idea, it's not done. Or I have nothing for art. Because these are the big questions before anything starts, right? Mm-hmm. So I made a little sheet and I talked to them. I say, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take that sheet. And if you don't get the vibe that they're 36 units or more, you say, here's the process. You fill out this sheet. Feel free to look around or whatever, but fill out the sheet, hand it to me. I have a call in about 5 minutes, like whatever, like just stuff that I know to do in my head, because my job is not being out there. So I want to minimize like talking to somebody about, the difference between a ring spun polo and like a whatever, but I have to teach them to manage their own time better, because they just get sucked into the process of it all. And they don't know how to have the confidence to say to somebody, obviously not no or ignore their email, but like to turn someone when you're looking at them in the face, So I built that process for it.
Yeah. I took Drew's advice and I handouts for refer-aways, and so somebody comes in and they say, I need 10 shirts, and say our minimum's 25. Mm-hmm. But here is somebody that does 10. I also had somebody that was referred to us. They called the shop. They said, can I talk to Andy? I talked to them and they said, hey, so-and-so told me to come to you. They did the design for me. And they said,
sorry about that, by the way.
Well, you know how this goes. And then so-and-so said to come to you and you take care of us for the printing. And I need 7 shirts. And I said, well, our minimum's 25, but here's a thought, because he wanted 7 Carhartts. I said, here's a thought: get 7 Carhartts for yourself, for your business. And then buy the balance up to, 25 in just promo shirts. Give them away to family or friends or whatever. And you could come here, because I told them that our minimum is 25. He's like, oh dude, I wish I could come there and everything. And I said, well, here, I have a way.
You think anyone else on your team would have said that and come to that solution?
That's a good question.
It's
I don't
rhetorical.
know.
Yeah. So like that is like the aluminum racks in the dark room. That's the special sauce that is always going to be there, and it's weird because I want to build this organization here that scales, to legacy level, is my dream. Right. And, right. But it's hard because you realize how hard it is to train that. I can have amazing operations people, but they don't have that finesse.
I feel like that's the same thing though. If like you found a way to fix that problem, like you found a way to get the guy who wanted 7 shirts to get
write it down.
24, write it the fuck down, or tell your other staff like, hey, I figured this shit out. Use this from now on. Like,
yeah, we should probably build a knowledge base.
We need to just start writing. We just need to like every shop needs to make their own print Bible.
Is anybody building like a training camp? I know everyone jokes about this, but does that exist yet?
I am
down to do something.
I am in talks with people right now to do something exactly that. Like me and Andy have been talking about it for a long time. I want to get it to somewhere or some degree. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to do it where screen printing is seen more as like a certified trade, and you can get some kind of certification, or do like a week camp once a year or twice a year where you get X level of certification, then X level of certification. And then you can say, we are a tier 4 certified screen printing shop. And you can actually use that to your customers and be like say it's this massive customer. You can be like, well, we're certified and trained in this water base and plastisol and this kind of printing. And
I meant just from a staffing standpoint, just like, I mean, you yourself say you do a lot of homegrown stuff. Like, of course you can train them all on all your stuff, but it's like, sometimes I look and I go, man, what I wouldn't do to just take somebody who wants, like I got signs on my grass out front that says, start a career in screen printing.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is
we'll train you. You
could take like 5 people from your staff that are like at this level or whatever, and just send them to the camp, and they come back with like, okay, like I legit learned how to do this stuff this week, and that me doing it in like the class or whatever gets me to this level of education. Like, why is that not a thing?
I don't want to take us off the rails here, but like, how do you do that? I guess you have to work with what? Like a place that has all the equipment, right? That they would need to train on. And then it's probably
I think you're talking about.
Well, that's why I'm thinking about doing like an M&R or something, or if it was like a rock thing and it was like, go to them. They have the whole showroom with all the equipment. And then you just take your industry knowledge of like, okay, like I know this dude's fucking awesome at Waterbase, or this person's amazing at digital, and this person's amazing at like shop management and like all this other stuff. And just be like, all right, Monday's this guy, Tuesday's this guy, Thursday's this woman, and so on.
That's their whole job, right? So, because we have to commit to the staffing and the team, right? So now we need to have an entire shop's payroll ready to sit and train, and we need enough people that we can send to it and make break.
Dylan, I think you're talking about a union, and I think you would make the perfect union boss, like a Teamster or something. Like
I'm
you
down.
look the part, sure.
I'll fucking do it.
You're in New York. I mean,
I'll
maybe
do it 100%.
Okay.
Well, we're in Florida, so I don't know if that's going to work around here.
I don't know. I just think that it's one of those things where we're all doing like basically a trade. Like we're teaching people how to do stuff, and they take that knowledge. They could go to another shop and be like, I ran a Gauntlet 3 and I ran nothing but 14 color prints all day long, they can take that knowledge and go to another shop and expect a certain amount of pay or whatever. But it's kind of like, just like you said before, hiring an experienced screen printer, like you don't actually know how experienced that person is other than them just gloating and being like, well, I did this print. And then they show up and they don't fucking know half of the shit that they said they knew.
Yeah.
It's like, why is there not some kind of education level of like, you're a master electrician. Like you fucking learned.
Listen, they have that with like web developers, right? But even still, when we would hire them, my software engineering director, he and I ended up he built like a form that he broke and you have to fix it because there are certifications, but guess what? Nobody knows anything, man. They're all a joke. Like you don't know until they actually do it. Right. So I was just thinking from like a training spot. Like, it's just like, I would pay to do it, you know? Like,
I mean, you hire somebody, fly them out to New York or whatever.
You can do that. And you can like hire someone like Ryan or whatever from Covered in Ink to come out and just like show them everything he knows for like a week.
Oh, what I meant is that he hires somebody in Orlando, a new employee, a new hire, and you fly that new hire, send them somewhere for 2 weeks and they get certified. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm saying, but I'm going full hardcore on it.
Well, but there would be like a class available beginning, October 1st for 2 weeks. And it wouldn't be one-on-one. Like they would go to wherever they're going and there would be 30 other people learning this thing. Right. And so it's affordable or whatever. You know what I mean?
You know what I realized? It's probably smarter to just hire 4 people and hire a consultant to come out instead. Look at all the difference between all of these shops. Like, okay, now they're learning
the nuances.
Yeah. Like, whatever. Okay.
Call Ryan. We'll give
too hard.
His number.
Can't figure it out on a podcast on a whim. Too hard.
All right. What questions you got for us?
Okay. Are there any type, and I'm going to ask Andy first because I'm sure, Dylan, you probably have a million examples of this. Are there any type of clients that you've blacklisted and why? Types of clients. And minimums doesn't count.
I have to be the first to answer it, huh?
Yeah, because
I love when you're the first to answer anything because you usually look at me as like, please don't make me go first.
We haven't blacklisted very many. There isn't maybe a type. I wish I could think of one right now. I'm drawing a blank.
I'm with you in that I don't think I have a specific type, but I've definitely blacklisted customers. Like it's usually just because they're assholes. Like it has nothing to do with, I mean, sometimes it does. It most of the time doesn't have anything to do with what their art is or what they're trying to make or what they're trying to do. But as soon as they start being a dick for no reason, or they're just like being whiny about their product, or they're, usually it's because Morgan or Sarah is answering the phone or the email and they're just like super disrespectful. And my first instinct is tell this guy to go fuck himself. Like, I don't care what he's doing. I don't care how much money he's bringing. He could be like, I have $100,000 order. I'm like, hey, how about you go fuck yourself? Like, you're not going to treat these people here like that. Like, that's not how this is going to go down. Like, I can be a dick to them because they're dicks to me, and that's how this company culture works. But like, you don't get to come in as a stranger and just like be an asshole.
I got one for you, Jared.
Yeah.
So I once created a program for a bridal party, like the bridesmaids and then bride. And so like how it was that the bride would always get a different shirt or something different about their shirt. And then there's the bridesmaids would all get kind of the same shirt and maybe personalize the back. So I had this package because we always lost on that deal. And so I put together a package like, oh, okay, well, maybe this will work. But then we did it. And like the very first one, or maybe the second one or something, we messed up. We didn't really mess up, but we put vinyl on the back of the shirt and she didn't know that it was going to be vinyl. And actually on the front, and actually we did. We actually, that's what she said. So exactly. You know where I'm going with this. Cause I think that's what we did. We printed the bridesmaid shirts. We printed the bridesmaid shirts all the same. And then we vinyled the one bride's shirt just cause it was cheaper for us. Yeah, it was one piece, and we used thin vinyl. It wasn't like it was bulletproof or anything like that.
You got Bridezilla.
And she freaked out, wrote us a bad review. And
it was before the wedding?
Yep. And we said, I think we even fixed it. She didn't even give us a chance to fix it. She just tore us an ass, and then we did fix it and got it to her. And then I said, you know what? Shred that package. We're not doing that anymore. And so that's the only one I can think of.
We blacklisted any Greek organization that happens to have what one might call predatory licensing protections. It's not worth it. I know it's tons of money there, but I don't like the way that structure works. And I think it's approaching it from the wrong angle. I think they need to monitor their organizations and their content, not take money off the top of, service providers. Letters.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big one. Yeah. And
agreed. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah. And it's hard because sales, there's turnover, there's a lot of things. So it's like such an important part of our history. It's like part of, not that there's any, when we rebuild our sales department, like we're doing now, it's part of training is like, oh, it's Greek. If it's on this site, nope. If it's not, screenshot the site, save it, put it in my folders, take the order because it could change at any moment.
Yeah. We used to get a letter every month that said, it was from the Greek organization or the Greek licensor, I should say. And it would say, we understand that Shurkong did X amount of dollars worth of business this quarter, and here is what you owe us. And they were really persistent. In fact, they even had a lawsuit going for us. And I finally had to get retained our attorney, sent them a letter that says false. And then they never sent another letter. At least that one didn't.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that stuff.
I guess it's not for a podcast, but you and I got to talk because whatever. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't do any of that shit, so.
Yeah, it's a demo. So like when we get people in who do like outbound sales, like, we create like a farm of salespeople at some point and teaching people just how to do it, So we would bring people who don't necessarily have a sales background and we teach, and everyone kind of has this same ideas at first, reaching out to like huge band. I'm like, dude, you're emailing Linkin Park for, what are you talking about, man? Like that kind of stuff.
Right.
To like, to like clients that are already working with us, like that level of person, but, in Greek organizations comes up always. So it became part of our training, but, let's see, I kind of hit on a couple of these already. Okay. Question. And this is completely coincidental that we're having this podcast now, or doing this podcast now, because I just asked my production manager, I go, okay, what auto reclaim are we looking at? And I said, I'll ask some people. So your personal opinion, money aside, not that that's not an object, it matters, between M&R, Lotus Holland, or what is it? CCI. What is your opinion? And I think it's probably for you, Andy, first.
Between those three?
Like which one do you recommend? Because we've heard people with Lotus Holland where they say it's like a nightmare with maintenance and stuff. And again, it's isolated instances. So, I'm just curious, like if there's like an opinion on like what you've heard from other people about it.
I did a lot of research on it, but I'll let Andy go because he has one.
Well, I would say I've only ran one. That's the M&R Ecotex, the modular, so all 3-chambered one, because I know that they make a different one and it's not as good. But so I've only run that one. However, I think they all do the job. I know some shops that have the Lotus. I don't really know any that have the CCI, but I do know one shop that is getting a new one that's has just come out, and that's Dylan. And I'm excited to hear about the results because it was developed by a company a chemical company. And am I allowed to say?
Yeah.
Dylan? Okay. So it's Easy Way. And Alex was instrumental in the design for it. And when you design something for, when you're a chemical manufacturer and you design a piece of equipment that will work with chemicals, that's like the best way to do it. Sort of like when, I wish that people who built and manufactured exposure units would have consulted people who make emulsions. So
yeah, exactly.
So I think that there is a good chance that this this new auto reclaim unit that Dylan's getting is going to be really great. And if it's not, it's going to be supported and by a company that wants it to be good, by a chemical company.
Right.
So I think the problem with, and I'm not trying to trash M&R or anybody else, but the problem with auto reclaim is it's not just plug and play. Like, let's say, for example, the auto coater. So I have a Unicoat. It literally, I got it off the crate. I plugged it in and I used it, and I could teach anybody how to use it within 30 seconds. The auto reclaim, we've learned how to use it, and we made mistakes, and we've figured it out now. And I can teach somebody I can train somebody. We just did. We trained somebody how to use it in maybe a day at the most. But auto reclaim's a little bit complicated. Ours certainly works. It works very, very well. We don't reclaim enough screens. Like, it's not maxed out. We're only reclaiming 100 a day roughly. And so it's capable of doing 400, but this is okay for me because I know we can grow into it. For example, like we still have, it's not at capacity, but also that person that's in auto reclaim, they're also in our ink department. So they're scraping screens and cleaning squeegees and flow bars. They're doing other things. And so if I didn't have auto reclaim, that person would be reclaiming 100 screens a day all day and not even get 100 most likely, and be exhausted and be exposed to chemicals, and they'd hate their fucking job and they'd quit. So we have an auto reclaim. The person is not going to quit. They're going to enjoy, their quality of life is going to be good. They're going to enjoy their job, and they're going to also be able, because it is so fast, they'll be also able to do other things. So Dylan, though, is getting ready to get brand new, I don't know if it's a beta. I think there is one installed in a couple other places.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we talk about that one. So Andy, you touched on something that has become like my motto in the last, I don't know, few months. And it's with this equipment, or it's that, or it's, we're in Florida, man. So it is hot here, right? And this warehouse is not air conditioned. So like all of these like equipment things, while yes, there's very clear, like just on a shirt by shirt basis or product by product basis, like there's a benefit to it. There's the cost savings and all that stuff, but is like an HR component to it, right?
Yeah, quality of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big deal, and it's showcased that need more than ever now, because I mean, it's changing a little bit based on the interviews that came in last week, but we've been hiring for the last 3 months, man. And it's like, I mean, how many times can you hear this on these podcasts? But it's like, it is insane how few people, we're talking to 98%. We're asking 98% of people to schedule an interview. 60% of them schedule it. 50% of them show up. And then there's like a 7% starting rate or something like that. Like, right. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing.
I look at this and I go, okay, once I get somebody here, I don't want to hear about it. Like, I don't want to hear that any of this could have been prevented, other than there's a personal issue with this person and they've changed their mind, Right. Well,
that's the thing about automating the darkroom and just the whole like pre-press screen department, is that once you have the eye image and you have the Unicoat and you have the rinse and the Ecotex or whatever you get for auto reclaim, is it's like you get a body in that area, someone who has attention to detail, but realistically, every single one of those machines is almost push the green button. You know what I mean? Like, the thing with me in auto reclaim and getting it is the fact of like, yeah, the dude who has to do that all day long, like, it's amazing for him, quality of life. He loves his job more because he doesn't have to sit there with a pressure washer and scrub screens and everything else. But the truth of it is, as an owner, is like, if that dude gets sick or leaves or is on vacation for a week, I can walk out there and I can fucking put a screen on the machine, push it, hit the green button. And that's, for the majority, it. Like, and
so could like half your other shop, or most.
Right,
most
exactly. I'm just saying,
shop.
You know how many times like my M&R rep has been saying this to me over the years? Like, I was talking to him like last week about something else, and he was like, yeah, it's good to see you getting all this stuff. I go, yeah, man. Well, you've been talking about it for 10 years. He goes, yeah, I know. I go, yeah, but back then you were showing me examples where it was $25 an hour for this person. And I go, and that's not what it was. It was a huge difference, but again, it just takes some coming around to it, but I look at it now going, yeah, you're right. I want to be able to be more flexible. I need the team to be more agile. I want to be faster. Like, somebody comes into the dark room now, you could start somebody and it's like way easier to get them up to speed. Exactly. And none of that is news. It's just kind of having a different impact now that you're not finding the staff
for sure
flying,
Yeah, exactly.
So do you find, like with me, my gut leans toward, and again, I realize it depends, of course. And Andy will say, well, this works for my shop or whatever, of course. But like we have all M&R equipment. Is there a true benefit in this case besides maintenance? Like I look and I go, okay, well, everything being consistent is nice. And the same guy's responsible to fix it, which is nice. And it's a popular product. It's not brand new. Whether it's like Lotus Holland is, I hear they have like an office headquarters in Tampa, which is really close to me, but that's not who comes and repairs it. It's like a whole other thing. So right. Do you hear stories about maintenance on these things or common issues with them that you would advise people who are looking to get into it? Or is it the same pretty much what you hear across the board?
I feel like auto reclaim is one of those things where it's going to take a lot of figuring it out in maintenance based on, if you are underexposing or overexposing your screens, what emulsion you're using, like all those things. And that's the problem with a lot of these machines is you're using different chemicals from different companies. Like if you're using Easyway or you're using some other company's chemical, like are they mixing together or is it like ruining chemical and all these other things? So it's like, it's something you need to figure out and dial in. And I know Andy went through that whole process for a long time and figured out like, okay, I need this exposure unit or I need this emulsion or, I was using this chemical at this dilution differently.
I guess the good news is with all of this, like the amount of detail that goes into it, as opposed to doing all the stuff by hand, is that there's the consistency is there and like, yeah, of course, what emulsion you're using, right? But like, what pressure you're setting it at, how long it's going. So like you have like actual consistency, you know?
I think the biggest thing, and me and Andy have said this on a bunch of times, like obviously me and Andy both have M&R stuff and we love M&R stuff. But I think the biggest thing it comes down to is support. So like if buying that piece of equipment from M&R, you're going to have your rep at least on your side to have him poke at somebody to come out and fix it or tweak it or
to me,
whatever you got to do.
Right.
Like that's the biggest thing by far. Like if the biggest thing to say is like, if you're in Chicago, it's a no-brainer almost to be like, all right, well, I'm going to get an M&R stuff because M&R is right fucking there.
Drive and pick it up.
Right. You could pick it up or you could have a tech come right from M&R to get it. Like that's the biggest thing is support. So if where you are, there's somebody nearby that works for that company that can easily like come over on a Tuesday. Like you call on Monday, you're like, hey, this machine sucks.
Yeah, I mean, they're local. Like literally all the reps, they're here all the time doing tune-ups and different things, Right. We had bought an amp schematic like folding machine years ago. And we never really used it. Then once we start using it, of course, it's like a nightmare. It's like you have to be an engineer to configure these things sometimes and get it rolling. Once it's rolling, it's good. But we do so much e-commerce folding and it's all different products and sizes and it just becomes a little crazy, right?
Long sleeves and hoodies.
So then I'm like, all right. And Robert and I were talking about, I was like, well, let's do a speedy tee. I go, let's just do something like that. And my rep will trade in my amp schematic and we'll pay.
Did you get a speedy tee?
I proved the order. Yeah.
I ordered one. I have one. Too.
Are we on the same container?
Hopefully, they said they ship 10 at a time.
You guys were actually fighting over the same one.
Well, he probably got it before me, unless you approved it on Friday. But but the conversation Robert and I had was, he was like, well, there's this other one that, whatever that one is, that's a little bit more homegrown. I can't remember what its name is. Right. And, you know which one I'm talking about? That shop makes it. I can't remember the name.
Oh, you're talking about and Ron Tuck Shirty. I don't remember the name of it.
Yes. Yeah. So I was looking at that. Robert's like, yeah, it's half the price. And I go, dude, I just can't. Our operation's too big. I need somebody like my rep here doesn't even know what it is. Like I can't do that, So I'm interested in what happens with Speedy T. We got a new DTG machine. We were running Brother GT 782s. Like they said, you're the last person on the planet using this. The ink is gone. Like this is it. And we upgraded that. So like, I'm just trying to get everything up to speed because we've kind of pieced and part of this thing together over the years, and you don't realize how like out of date it is until this time. And now everything else is relatively affordable. That DTG machine costs like a third of what those double-headed GT 782s cost. And I'm like, oh, it's $25,000? And I sound like an asshole saying this. $25,000, dude, do it. Let's go. Right, revolutionize that terrible piece of crap. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. And that's why I said, I think with any kind of equipment, it just boils down to support. Like if you can have the support, then to me, it's a no brainer. And that's exactly why I decided to go with Alex and the machine that I got is because of the fact that it's fucking Alex. Like I can pick up the phone right now and call him and he will pick up his phone on Sunday at home in bed watching TV. Like that's how it is for me, is like, if I have that machine, I know he's giving me his word, like it's going to work, or if it doesn't, he's going to.
That's our relationship with our M&R rep too.
Right. It's the same thing. It's that to me is worth its weight in gold, because I could look at this other machine and be like, oh yeah, this is sweet and it looks good and it's got 5-star reviews and everything. But if something breaks on it and I have to sit on hold for 3 hours and then I get somebody that I can't understand, and then that guy's like, try these things. And I'm like, all right, cool. Do you have a direct number to where when I try what you asked, I could call you back? They're like, no, call customer support again and sit on hold for another 3 hours. And then you're going to get a totally different dude that you have to explain your whole fucking scenario over again to. Like that, to me, I would rather fucking light myself on fire than do that. So
would you?
I will.
All right.
Next time that comes, I'm just going to,
okay.
I mean, not the whole body, maybe my facial hair or something.
A couple things about the Ecotext is, because you asked about maintenance, or somebody to work on it. We've never had anybody work on it. I've never ordered a part. It's almost 2 years old. So it was installed, knock on wood.
Oh, it's never broken right now. I just saw a spark behind you.
Yeah, seriously.
Never had to
got
fix
massive
it.
Water leak.
Maintenance, yes. I have to improve how we drain it and change out the chemicals. So it takes 701 in chamber 1 and it takes something called 500 in chamber 2. And I want to be able to be faster at changing out those chemicals when we change them out. And in order to do that, I have to bust up some concrete. And so I'm putting that off right now, but I will eventually get there. And you may have to do that with any machine. I mean, this is just I want to be fast at changing the chemical. And so I can talk to you about that later, though, if you're ever interested.
Yeah.
And the other thing would be about automation is that I think that whenever we have automated something, we've always taken one step back before we take a giant leap forward, because it's forced us to up our game, and whether it's in the screen room or whatever, we've had to become better. And I really like that, because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, I'll get this machine and it'll automate and it'll just do it. Like we won't have to, we'll just push a green button, like Dylan said, which is true. However,
you gotta figure it out first.
You have to figure it out first. And it didn't. And usually when we install stuff, with the exception of that Unicoat, we take a step backwards. And the third thing I would say is that we aren't all M&R. I have a wax machine for our imager, and it's not an iMimage. And so I went with a piece of equipment that I knew also that would give me tremendous support. And that's Mark from Douthit. And sort of the same thing. Like if I call him on a Sunday, he'll answer the phone in bed. What would you say? In bed when whatever he's doing.
TV. No shirt
watching TV.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's not wearing a shirt now? Oh.
Yeah, and he's brushing his mustache like this.
Mark was here in town.
His belly.
Mark was just randomly in town 2 weeks ago. I think he was doing an install or something, and he stopped by to say hi. He brought me 2 things of wax, which is awesome. And then he left his soccer coach jacket here. And I texted him like, hey, Mark, you need this jacket? And he goes, oh my God, like it was the most important jacket in the world. And so I shipped it out that day to him. And he did in the mail. And he got it. He got it on a Saturday. And he thanked me. And he sent me this part that we were like this attachment to a grease gun or whatever, just sent it to me. And so it's like, he's
his boss, not for you. It's awesome.
He's that kind of guy, he's a good dude. So any more questions?
Yeah. Have you guys thought about having, and maybe I've missed them, but having like non-owner, like company key players on this podcast?
We only have had one that I know of, and that was back when Ryan was a production manager at Denver Print House. But that's a really good question. And I have, in fact, in our list of people who have messaged us, and some new ones, even some recent ones, Dylan, I don't know if you saw them, but they were like, hey, I don't run a shop. I mean, I don't own a shop, but I do this, and this there. And I think I've got a lot of years in this industry and I have a lot to contribute. I'd love to be on the show. So, I mean, I think that's probably a really good idea, and not just like a production manager, but also maybe a designer. We actually had some designers. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
We have like, I just think about like, and this kind of, I made notes about like tips and stuff like that too, that because I was really like trying to think about like how I can add any value to a conversation that seems like everyone says the same thing now, which is like, oh, say anything that's already been said or whatever. But like, I think about how like this, like the biggest like thing to improve everyone is to create that like learning, that desire to learn, or at least identify it in anybody who will and do it, you know? And I think about like how expanding this to involve more than just like the top level is a big part of that. Like you want to spread it more than just the people who only apply it when the guy quits or calls out sick and you're in the dark room messing around. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think with this, we have tend to gravitate towards like talking to owners because realistically it's only episode 74 or whatever, 75. But like we have a long list of like people we want to talk to, but like selfishly, I want to talk to like people on my list are generally people that like know something that I might not know, or I genuinely don't want to just have people on and be like, let's talk about the same shit we've talked about 75 episodes. Like I want to talk about shit that like I don't know, where you come on and like you're just teaching me for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in talking to, I mean, we've talked before about wanting to talk to like Saudi and Chromaline and all these other like companies that deal with stuff, or you know, like you said, like production managers or somebody who's just really good at printing a certain way or anything. Like
or even like I think about like our purchasing department and stuff, you know, like sourcing all this stuff. Like I realize it's not
100% down.
You know, it's just, it's weird. I take a lot of the stuff for granted that's around here. And so does a lot of people. So do a lot of people in this organization.
The thing with that though, is that usually if we were to contact a company, we'll end up talking to the owner. Like if anybody out there is like amazing at SEPs or amazing at doing purchasing or whatever that wants to be on the show, hit us up. Like send us an email at shirtshowofficial@gmail.com or a DM or something. And like, we'll add you to the list because
we've asked people and they've said no too. So, I mean, it's not always a yes. Well, they say, we're too busy, or they say, this isn't my thing. I'm no good at speaking or whatever, you know? And so it doesn't always work out. And
or
scheduling
people
too.
That we want to talk to that the schedules just never line up, and then we have to wait and wait.
Well, you know, just making sure it's on the list.
It's on the list. The list is
this is
long.
I really like this one. Like it was beautiful here in St. Louis today. You said it was 55 in Florida or whatever, but today it was in the 60s, and it's supposed to be the same thing for tomorrow. And then it's supposed to just drop into like 40s or whatever for a while. And I was like, oh man, this is like one of the last days that it's really, really nice out. And I could it should be like really cool to chill on the deck or just do something. Right. And it's daylight saving time. And so it gets dark. It's already super dark here. And I was like, I'm committed to this. I'm going to go in. We have this scheduled. And once I sit down and start talking, it usually works out great. Like there's a great conversation, and, you know, I think you're almost going to set a record. Maybe that's what you're going for, because we're at I don't know.
Oh, I got more. I got a little bit more. We haven't talked about therapy, man.
Keep it going. I'm here for the conversation.
Listen, my wife said, I was like, listen, I need to know what is are you making dinner? Cause I left her home with like a newborn and like my 3-year-old. So I'm like, are we ordering? They're going to ask, I got to know what I'm going to eat. I got to have, sure. I don't want to just say whatever. And,
boiled hot dogs.
No. But she was like, oh, you know, I think it's, you know, if you want me to order something, I go, no. Just, what is it? And it's going to be, I'm going to sound like such a douchebag. It was like, she's like, oh, well, there's like quinoa and like some Indian food left over. I'm like, this is like the opposite of any version of me that was going to exist. But my point is, she was home and I go, oh, well, I know when bedtime is. So we got a good 45 minutes before I actually have any desire to leave this video right now. Can we go into my next?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You'd mentioned therapy or whatever, right? So I went into this pandemic, like whatever, like the way I thought I was. And then I left this pandemic, like therapy all the time, like consistently, and like medication for anxiety and stuff, because something flipped, right? And I'm never one of those, like, I even considered like, I don't want to talk about this stuff or whatever. But then I think about how many people might like have some like thing that's going on and like nobody talks about it. And I know everyone talks about that too, but like, I never thought of myself as that person. Not that it's a problem or anything. I never had any like issues with it, but going through therapy and doing it regularly, not just when I had major issues, has like changed the way I look at my business. And for better or for worse, you know, like, and I think it's like really important. And I know some people don't subscribe to it, both literally and figuratively, but like it made a big difference for me. And anybody who knows me, not like from this, like would like, I share about it all the time, because you never like, if I was open to it, but a lot of people aren't, and they're like super clammed up, or like tough guys or tough girls or whatever. And it's just like, this stuff is crazy. And the pressure of all this stuff is insane. And you think you have it all figured out, and you think like, you know what the next move is, but sometimes it's nice to just have not your family, not your friends, not whatever, somebody completely objective to talk to, you know? But like that stuff changed. It just made all of this like easier for me, you know? But then again, it was also a global pandemic, and like something snapped just kind of like for a while, and it was like not a comfortable feeling, you know?
My degree was in psychology. Not that that really means anything, because it's an undergrad degree and it's what it was. And it was so many that I learned probably, but my thoughts are this. I have a couple of thoughts. One, wouldn't it be cool if there wasn't a stigma around therapy? You know, that if, and I think that the way to achieve that is to have it mandatory in a sense, or like if everybody did it, you know, so if everybody just went, oh, you know, I have therapy today, you can show up and you cannot say a word, you know, you could just not subscribe to it. Like you said earlier,
like Sopranos.
Like, and sort of like Good Will Hunting too. Like, you know, Matt Damon went in there and he's like, I'm not talking to you, you know, whatever. And so, but eventually
go sit with Robin Williams every day, I would do that.
Right. But the stigma would go away, because with therapy, I don't know why the stigma exists. That maybe it is that, you know, it's sort of like what Brene Brown talks about, is that when we're younger, we put on this armor, or we find this armor that protects us, you know, that works then for whatever reason. Maybe you're bullied, or maybe you didn't fit in, or maybe your stepdad was a fucking asshole. But, you know, you put on this armor, right? And at some point, though, you have to reconcile in your midlife, whether, you know, so say after you're in your 30s or your 40s or something, you have to figure it out and say, wait a second, this armor that I had when I was young maybe doesn't work now. And I have to figure out ways to deal with a lot of stuff that's maybe more healthy, you know, because I'm matured now. My brain is fully developed and all these things. And so I think a lot of us don't do that. Instead, we only act tough, where and like we don't need that. And I think that's kind of goes back to and ties into this vulnerability thing. And that is that it's okay to not be right about stuff. And it's okay not to have it all figured out. And it's okay to feel whatever you were feeling. I think a lot of people felt like that. The whole world did, you know, this has been a weird couple of years. And so, yeah, I don't have a therapist. My therapy right now is my personal trainer. And so I go 3 times a week to this gym, and it is physical and also mental. He's great. He's very positive. We talk things out, not just, you know, about exercise, but it's just a good hour, and it's during my day. So it's at 10 a.m. I'm gone. It forces me to get out of here. Otherwise, sometimes I never leave. And so I use that right now as therapy, but I could do some deeper, you know, like you said, out of your loop conversation.
Weird, like, most of the time it's me, you know, and it depends on the person, right? So for me, it became a lot of talking through things that I'm always internalizing and figuring out, right? So like in my head, I got to figure it out. And then I find myself like an hour later, I'm like, what am I just talked at you, and she's like, yeah, you just need to talk. Like you just kind of are kind of alone in your head, and you just got to kind of let it out and talk to somebody, because she's like, you work through all the solutions, you know how to do it. You just got to vocalize it, because I don't want to put it on my wife, or I don't want to put it on my business partners or whatever, or employees. Like there's only so much you can do, you know? And it was just, you know, even when it's easy, it's a helpful thing. And I don't think it should take people getting to a point where you are like losing a grip on yourself, which happened to me, which was a very strange experience. And I don't wish that on maybe on my worst enemy, but not my like almost worst enemy. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm perfect. Next question.
Yeah. He's definitely not a tough guy putting up a beard, and curse words to make himself seem in control.
Right.
Not at all.
Next question.
Yeah, perfect. So there was something else I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry for like taking this over, but I had written this down.
I'm all for this.
So I asked my production manager and Matt and Robert, I was like, hey, they're going to ask me for tips, man. Like, I don't want to be some guy giving some lame ass business tip, like, or whatever. Like, is there anything? And he starts talking to me about like he started talking about like DPIs and all stuff. I go, dude, anybody ask me a follow-up question on this, I'm like, I'm going to seem like a total asshole. I go, that doesn't work. And then I realized there's one anecdote that happened a long time ago, and where like there was this problem with like they were having issues with detail or things were coming out of alignment or whatever, right? And they go, oh, we figured that out. This is after like years of like the same thing. And I go, how'd you figure it out? They go, we flipped the films over. And I go, what do you mean you flipped the films over? I thought you knew what you were doing. They go, yeah, they told us always have it that way because you don't want it touching, your emulsion or whatever over time, because either whatever it becomes like, it like degrades. But it became like a symbol to me of like how no matter what, there's always like a change in things, or like there's another way to look at it, and to talk to somebody like a consultant or someone who handles your equipment, and don't just like keep it in your own mind. And like, so Robert will come to me about something totally different. Oh, this inventory count is wrong in our e-commerce thing or whatever. I go, did you fix it? He goes, yeah. I go, well, what was it? He goes, you don't want to get into it. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, we flipped the film over, kind of thing. Like, it was something so silly, so dumb. And he said, even at the time when I said I wanted to bring this up, he goes, well, now they kind of tell you to do it like that. But he goes, when we were dealing with this, it was like, you would never do that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
So you're talking about the film that you, before you like put it in,
when they put it onto the screen to expose it, they were taught by who knows how many people put it, print side up or something, right? Or something. But either way, the answer was to flip it the other way, because it would create like this tiny little gap. And that little gap between, let's say, the emulsion or whatever would create just like enough to create some problem that I'm sure created some.
You got light undercutting,
something like that, and it became.
So I guess you could print. You could print in mirror, and then when you flip, it's the right side. It's a film positive. So
it's probably like that. And now it's not an issue because we're using
image.
Yeah, exactly. So. Now it's just like, oh God, is the network going down? Are we okay? Like on Friday, literally we hear the building just starts going zoom, zoom, and I'm like, oh shit. You hear battery backups beeping, and then you hear all the people who don't plug into the right side of it going, no, because like their computer's turned off. And then we go outside and the power line's just like waving. And I'm like, oh my God, like what's going on? And they go, I think a car hit the pole or something down the road. And we were completely in the dark. And I was just like, we can't even, like, everything is so digital. We couldn't do anything. So they just brought up, a couple of guys have cars with like actual plugs on it. They plugged the DTG machine into a car and a heat press into the other car.
That's cool.
And they just did what they could to go. And they were just, everyone.
It's like a generator. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Anyways, so so it became a metaphor of like something so simple. And we've been doing this, we've been in business for like 14 years when this happened. We've only been around 16 years, and like, it's been forever. And I think just we're raising standards. We're trying to become the experts at what we do and just make a better product.
Yeah.
And like that desire is what changed it. Somebody had to want to fix the issue, not just say, yeah, well, I mean, screen printing is not an exact science,
Right.
Like, kind of.
Yeah. I think one thing you could really do is to just maybe have someone come out, like a consultant, and just like have them go through the whole production thing and just look at everything and be like, oh, why are you doing it this way? And then they're going to tell you like, oh, well, I've learned over the years to do it this certain way or whatever. That might help.
Did you say you were coming into town?
I am. And I was going to talk to you about that after.
All right, good. Well, obviously we're not going to talk about it now.
You're a consultant now, Dylan.
Nice.
And speaking of,
we're going to call it Cool Hangs so we don't have to pay. It's fine.
Well, I am coming to town and I will be there. And I just need to like fully lock it in and make sure it's going to happen. But it's funny because today I was looking on my phone and I saw last night or the night before that Every Time I Die started their new tour with 68. And I was like, fuck, I need to go see this because I didn't buy my Christmas show tickets this year because they sold out super fast. So, and I love both those bands. Like I love 68 and I love Every Time I Die. So I was like, I just want to look at their like tour schedule and see where they're playing. They're probably not going to play in New York because they're going to play there for the Christmas thing. And on the dates that I'm supposed to be in Orlando, they're playing in Orlando. So I bought the tickets like right before the show to go see them in Orlando.
Don't lie. This is why you're going there. This is all a front. He was like, they happen to be playing there.
Whatever gets us talking and gets him here.
Yeah. I was thinking that,
and I don't mean to put that pressure. I'm just saying
the day that I'm supposed to get there is the night of the show. So I'm going to get there, go to the show next day. I'll be.
Where is it? House of Blues?
No, it
Hard Rock?
was, hold on. I have it on my phone.
The Beecham?
I was hoping that you guys were going to go to Disney together.
The Abbey Pub in Orlando.
Okay. All right.
They're playing there the 29th and the 30th.
I'm sure everyone who works here is going to be there. So
I
don't know about me. I'm pretty mild. I don't know.
I want to just.
Right there.
Yeah, I saw that. Why didn't you cut the pink to be and then do the black the other way?
I did this in a couple of minutes, really fast.
He had a pink.
As fast as I did a horrible Photoshop of the.
Oh yeah, I had a pink. Oh yeah, I could have done it. Yeah, you're right. I need a
for next time. Please fix that
next time.
Only other tip I have is more of like a business one, and I think like I said before, like half the stuff I know, I don't realize is called anything, you know? So like it became just out of necessity. So like whether it's hiring somebody or developing a process or whatever, I literally we'll use like Trello sometimes for my virtual Post-it notes, right? And I'll just be like, okay, create daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual checklist for whatever this is. And I'm sure there's some business like degree name for whatever that is, you know, but it has really helped me in almost every single situation, whether it's a process I'm creating or a person I'm hiring or a person that needs to be trained for someone else who's hiring them. The daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual checklist, like it solves everything because it covers everything. And because I didn't know the name for it either, our issue is maintaining these processes. Like after we build it, like Robert and I can jump in and, you know, we can like tell somebody, let's do this, let's do that. But like 3 generations of employees later and, you know, things get a little wishy-washy, right? So hey, maybe it's documented, but like who's checking the documentation, Dylan, right? So like my friend, he was, at the time, he was a consultant he worked for Deloitte, right? And Deloitte's like this massive conglomerate global consulting organization. And he taught me the word sustainment. And that has become like the word for Robert and me is sustainment. Yeah, great. We can fix this problem. How are we going to sustain it? Because if he doesn't have time to see it through, I'm not going to waste his time fixing the problem today because there's no point. And I'm just going to be so sad later when it goes away, you know? So that's a big one too, is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly checklist and sustaining it, figuring out how you're going to sustain it. And the checklist is to sustain it. So if somebody, and you hold someone to it.
Makes sense.
You know, seems like
I think that the sustainment part's the hardest part, I bet. Yeah, I mean, you can have ideas to say, oh, we want to have this checklist and here are the things I want to work on, but then actually getting to it and working on them and keep working on them. That seems like the hardest part.
I joked with Robert recently where I was like he was just getting really busy. And I said, listen, if you need, I don't know if you need an assistant or you need something. I don't know, man. It's like weird. We're getting to that level where it's like you're hiring something where you're like, I should never need that. Like any assistant I've ever had became like a job here, right? It was a purchasing person or it was a web developer or it was whatever. It was never just somebody who's like an assistant, and he had the same visceral reaction to that. Like, no. Then I told him later, I go, if I had an assistant, it would literally just basically be a human calendar and reminders app that is going, did you finish this for Jared? Like you said, did you finish this? Did you finish this? Make sure that deadline's coming up. Like that's literally what it would be because so much of this is following up and making sure that the sustainment exists, you know? And it is the hardest part. My managers, you know, I should be doing one-on-ones with them. We should be talking more often. We should be holding them accountable to their departmental expectations and all this stuff that we set up. But then life happens. Or, a massive tour starts after the pandemic and you're sourcing like $1 million to other shops because your turnaround went from 2.5 weeks to 5 weeks with full capacity staffing, even without extra people coming in,
Jared, what were you thinking having kids and getting married and all that kind of stuff? You don't have time for that.
No,
you need to be working on sustainment.
To me, like the home stuff doesn't stress me out at all. Like to me, it's simple. Baby, poop, whatever, screaming, crying, sleep. Like it doesn't, that stuff is easy to me. This is hard. People is tricky. These people, these customers, it's hard, man. That's the part that is hard because I cannot control it. But what do I know? I haven't dived into these issues deeply in the last few months. I don't know that it's all based on my control issues. I'm not quite sure what the issue is.
Yeah, but I feel like the trouble stuff and the stuff we have to figure out is also fulfilling too, because I feel like if I didn't have any of that, I would be bored out of my mind.
Oh, dude,
like
sure.
I wouldn't want to sit here on autopilot all day long. Like even now, like I think about it where I've got the company to a point where it is kind of on autopilot and I don't have to be here. Like it could run on its own. Like there are times when I'm in the office and like my inbox is done and I'm kind of like, fuck, like, what do I do now? Like, I could go out and mow the lawn at the shop, or I could fucking like cut some boxes, or I could just go poke at people. But like, there's times where I'm just like, I have nothing to do.
Dilly, if I schedule a therapy session for you, pay for it.
How did therapy come out of this?
Well, because I was just thinking, if I did this, A, would you go? And B, the condition would be that I would get to listen, like you record it and I could hear, your therapy session.
You broadcast it after.
Yeah.
You are my therapy session. How many times do I call you and just pour my heart out?
Well, maybe that's true, but I am not a professional. And so
he only majored in it briefly and forgot everything.
It's been a long time. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right.
I don't know if you would want to stir that pot.
You want to see what bubbles up.
Yeah.
And I think people should show this kind of programming, at least specific ones, to their team and try to get everyone involved in it. And because to me, it was a big help, but I'm also into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people aren't,
I think that my team, our team here, they have enough of me during the week. And I don't know that they would.
I guess it's different when it's you. Like, obviously, I'm not saying you guys. Obviously, I think they have their fill of you.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Other shops, maybe. All right, quick takes. And I've got it. Or I'm sorry, you were done with questions, I'm guessing, because you said last one or something, right? Did I? Yeah,
we're done.
Did I ruin it for you?
Last one for that
good.
Page.
No, we're done. What? I wanted to make sure I had the stuff organized. Come on.
Okay. Perfect. I love it.
So yeah, quick takes. And if I start, then it ends on the right question. So I'm going to kick it off. Ready?
Born ready.
Jared, what's one thing you need every morning?
Howard Stern.
Nice. We were just talking about that. My dad used to drive truck and he was like, yeah, I used to listen to Howard Stern every day.
I love the saying drive truck. I love that.
Drive truck.
Yeah,
well, it's funny. We went to...
So much for quick take.
Yeah. We went to a show. My dad loves the Doors, and there was like this one night only theater showing of like their 68 show. And I went with him and I was just sitting down at dinner talking to him. And I was like, do you miss driving truck? Because he used to that's what he used to do. He used to just drive truck. He was like, yeah, it was nice when you could just drive like 8 hours to a destination, back up to the dock, wait like 20 minutes, and then you drive like another 8 hours to another destination. He's like, you could just like listen to music or listen to Howard Stern or something like that. And I was like, man, that sounds pretty rad if that's what you're into. It's just chill and drive all day long.
Yeah. Do you have a really long commute that you can listen to a lot of Stern? Or do you listen to
I live
The Office or something?
10 minutes away and I just listen to it like
at work.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, obviously in headphones or with my door closed, but still it's just become that and like fish podcasts and stuff or this.
Fish.
I know it sounds insane. Whatever.
Fish the band or fishing?
Oh, dude, don't be ridiculous. Fish
Aquarium
like
fish?
Aquariums, not Fish the band. Don't be ridiculous. That is so lame. But now the only things exist of me a video on the internet. One is the Printavo podcast and this one. I'm talking about fish. And it's so lame. But whatever, man. Brought me.
Yeah, right, dude. You're gonna start a movement.
That's right. Bringing this hobby back.
All right. I'm with you. Hey, it's whatever fucking floats your boat, dude. No pun intended on that one. What show are you watching right now?
We're watching whatever season of Shameless just came on to Netflix. We're almost done. And yeah, we just had to finish. And what else? What else were we watching? I love watching 30 Rock over and over. And of course, we're watching Seinfeld, but that's slowly as we go to sleep. So
I had to give up on Shameless. It was just so many bad decisions over and over again. That it was stressing me out.
I couldn't. There was a point where work stuff was, this was like years ago, work stuff was stressing me out so much I couldn't watch The Office because Michael Scott started like pissing me off. Like
that's why I can't watch The Office. That's why I fucking hate that show. Because it's stressful as fuck.
Okay.
Sorry. I didn't do therapy this week. Hold on. I'm gonna pull my earlobes.
All right. So I know you're in Florida, but you're not. I guess you're in the middle of Florida. So beach trip or mountain trip?
Mountain trip, 100%. I hate the sand. I hate it. I hate the beach. My wife loves the beach. I love my wife. We go to the beach. Kid puts a banana in the sand. I'm like, oh my God. And then like eats it. Like things like that happen. I'm at the beach where like inventing. I'm like, they got to make a collapsible like platform that elevates me off the sand. Not a towel that gets covered in sand instantly. That's who I am. So mountains, please.
I think I told this on here before too, but my son, the very first time we took him to the beach, he just ate like a fuckload of sand and he shit sand for like a week.
So unlike Dylan, Dylan's afraid of sharks. You're afraid of the sand.
I'm not afraid of the sand. I just
sand phobia.
That's all I heard. We're editing this to say he's afraid of sand.
I hate sand. I mean, I'm afraid of. Who's not afraid of sharks? Like, I mean, come on,
dude. It's not your home. Get the fuck out of there. You don't belong in there. Get out.
No, dark waters.
No, it's terrifying.
No.
Okay.
Little fish. That's why I have the little fish. I don't have a big shark tank.
Dude, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Consult.
There's a serious.
Like this
serious
is work
breath.
related.
Anything, personal, work, whatever.
Oh, well, let's stick work related. So work related, I think it would be work more with an accountant and like start learning more, which I realize is easy to say now, but you have to be at a certain maturity level. So I think it's inevitable to go through all this. But I'd say the joke I give to people when they ask like for business advice, I say, find an accountant and realize they know way more than you about what you need to accomplish and you need to do what they say. You are not special.
Yep. I tell my accountant to treat me like a 2-year-old and don't fucking just do it. Like you have full permission.
See, he's vulnerable.
What advice would you give your younger self personally, not work related?
Get a bigger fish tank.
That was part B.
My younger self, that would have been me like a year ago. I don't know. I think probably to like I said, like my entire adult life since going to college has been like this business, right? So only like since my relationship with my wife have I been like building relationships outside of here. Not that these people aren't my best friends, but I would say making sure I have like a friend support system that exists.
Dude,
outside.
So good. That was that's so me. Like I spend so much time working on this business that I neglected. I said no, to friend stuff, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, I can't. Mm-hmm. That,
my social life was this. I mean, it was, Alex and I were always together. It's like the Rolling Stones. Okay. This is like, I don't mean that sounds really shitty. I am not likening us in our business to the Rolling Stones, but the idea is like, these are people of touring bands. Like they don't hang out outside because you spend so much time together. Right. And it just feels like, to me, it brought this weird, I felt guilty having friends that didn't work here. It felt weird, inviting them to company functions or this and that. I'm like, oh, these are like my friends. They're like, who the fuck are these people?
I get that now. Like we'll go to something that I know these guys are going to be at too. Cause these are like my best friends, but I have like other friends that like we do stuff with outside of work.
Better
and
friends?
sometimes we go somewhere with those other friends, and these guys are there, and I feel weird. Like I feel like I'm like I gotta like hide behind something. Be like,
yeah. I've had relationships where like both of us kind of worked here and stuff like that, you know, and it creates like an insane pressure. Like my wife and I dated back in college, right? That's when we met originally. And she was around when I started this business with Alex. She was around, she was deprioritized and all that. And we broke up for like 8 years, right? And grew up, whatever. And she lived in New York. And then she came down here and I was just so relieved to like have somebody who's like, I don't know if I'm going to be involved in that. Like, she's a graphic designer. She could easily have fallen into the fold, but neither of us want that because the pressure, at least for the way I am, the tension is like insane. I'm a problem solver. So my relationships are tricky because people can't vent to me. Like, you cannot vent to me. I'm like, why don't we try this or that? And then next thing I know, they're mad at me. And I'm like, all right. And that goes for...
That's how all of my arguments go, is someone will come to me with something and just like, I don't know what happens in my brain, but I automatically take the side of the other person they're complaining about.
Oh, yes.
I'm like, well, they're probably like, dude, they probably did this because of this reason. They're like, why the fuck are you taking their side?
My wife works for one of our old business partners, like completely different industry and stuff. And like, so I like have like these opinions about stuff, but nothing's like bad. It's just like, I guess people don't, there's a whole episode of Parks and Recreation about it where it's like, just say that sucks. That's all they want to hear. That sucks. And I go, what?
Yeah.
What's the point of me? That sucks.
I dive deep and then I get in trouble.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to use that. That's a shop hack, just to say that sucks.
I'll put the next Post-it note on your, microphone just says that sucks. You can just press the that sucks like button or whatever.
What is your go-to snack?
Well, I guess it would change seasonally, but I don't, let's see.
Quinoa.
I really like Baby Bells. Like
the Baby Bell.
Baby Bell cheese, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Red circles.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like a prepackaged thing.
Yeah. I like that. I like, I don't know.
I feel like that's too much unwrapping for me. I would need to eat like 10 of those.
It's fun. It's wax. Gives you something to do.
I just buy a brick of cheese and eat it like this.
No. Then you have to wrap it back up and seal it. It's easy.
Or you just eat the whole thing and feel like a piece of shit afterwards.
You mean with the wrapper on it?
Lactose intolerant is probably always part of the game there. But yeah, I like Baby Bells.
Okay. That's good. Do you prefer a night in or a night out?
Oh, night in for sure. I mean, like I assume you mean going out, like out.
Yeah. Like if you were like, oh, I'm going to go out to a show or at the bar, or would you rather go home and watch 30 Rock?
Go home. Yeah. Mild, beyond mild.
Mild boys. Right.
Like last night, my wife, it's only because the kids were motivated to like do other stuff. So we went and saw like the new Wes Anderson movie. And
oh yeah. I want to see that. How'd you like it?
I really liked it. My wife's like, oh, I just got so tired in the middle. I go, I don't think you got tired, because I felt that same way too. Like, I don't think it was that we were tired, but it's really cool. This one's a little more like theatrical, I would say. Like theatrical, I mean like a play a little bit more in the middle.
Was it long or something?
No, it wasn't long. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, but I don't know. We should reconnect on it because I don't want to, but like it felt
Spoilers.
Like spoilers. It just felt like it wasn't as like fun and punchy as like, let's say like I don't know, Royal Tenenbaums or something like that, or any of that. It was a little bit, it was a little bit more drawn out, I think, but it's good. The point I was making, we went out. Yeah, sorry. We went out and we were just like, afterwards, like 8:45, we're like, oh, I'm so tired. Let's go home. I'm like, let's grab a piece of pizza at this place and then just go home.
8:45. Yeah. Team Mild Boys.
Yeah.
All right. You built this up already. Now we got to hear the actual answer. Andy, hit him with it.
Yeah. What's for dinner?
I'm pretty sure. What time is it? No, nobody's in bed yet. So probably just going to be like microwavable Indian food and like quinoa or whatever she said, because I feel bad. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to get fast food. So how's that for most interesting?
If you were to get fast food,
microwave Indian,
what would it be?
On the way home, it's probably good. It would probably be McDonald's.
I did not peg you as a McDonald's drive-through guy.
Why?
You can't beat a Big Mac, dude.
Listen, if I passed a Burger King, I'm a huge supporter of Burger King in general. I realize everything, like, it's getting worse and like
Burger King has the best fast food burger.
As a kid, I loved Burger King, and I realized why as an adult, and I'm so stupid. I was like, oh, just the mustard's so good. Then I realized that's just yellow mustard. Like as a kid, like I was such a terrible eater as a kid. Like my parents used to like sneak McDonald's into places for me and stuff. And then eventually as a kid, we went to a restaurant, like, oh, it's a burger. And my mom's like, you love burgers. And I go, no, I want a gray one, like at McDonald's.
Gray one. I like Burger King because they have the stackers and the stacker sauce. So I like that burger if I get a chance to go by there.
Didn't they do like chicken fries or something at some point?
Yeah, they have all kinds of weird shit. I
think that's White Castle.
I don't know. I don't like White Castle. There's so much onion happening. I remember there. I just was not into it.
All right. Well, thanks, Jared.
Break a record?
I don't know.
No,
it's really close.
2 hours, 45 minutes.
I feel like it is, but well, I mean, we can keep going,
matter.
Right?
It doesn't
make up
matter
some more stuff.
because the reason why they go to whatever they go to is because it's an interesting conversation and we don't want to stop. So, hey, you made it this far. Thank you for being on.
Are you saying he's not interesting anymore? Like we need to end this?
No, I'm saying we did quick takes. We found out what he's eating for dinner. The dude wants to go home and eat quinoa.
I don't, but it's what's going to happen. So it's fine. Like quinoa is not cool to me. Rather some couscous.
Nope. I would say no to all of that.
Well, you can make macaroni and cheese with couscous, man.
All right. Whatever. I don't know what half of that shit is. To me, it's just like.
I think couscous is just really small mac and cheese.
Yeah, it's like tiny little. I didn't know. By the way, don't think I'm like some cultured like genius. My wife made all this stuff. I am like terrible. I would just be eating like bologna subs from Publix or whatever, which I realize I'm wearing.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Well, you got this sponsored Publix study on.
No, I have these Publix like they go to when you get a second, go look up like Publix like merch store. They had like a legit company make like one of those cool branded drops that these big companies are doing. They had like this really nice, I think it's a nice hoodie, and these like slides that are like bright green that says Publix, and it's like the Supreme ones, but it's bright green. I wear them all the time. Not in public, but I wear them at home.
You wear them to Publix
and I bought a little like enamel pin, a little Publix enamel pin. I don't know. In Florida, Publix is a big deal.
It is a big deal. I'm a big fan. When we
Publix
we vacation
when I was there.
Yeah, it's a good store.
But we have Wegmans up here, so
yeah, I don't know what that is.
Want your Publix? Publix out here.
Whatever.
All right, dude. I'm gonna be getting a hold of you about the trip.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much for being on this. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate everything you guys do, and I think it's awesome. And I think it's a testament to like your personalities that you're even interested in doing something like this and maintaining it and stuff. And I think it has an impact of so many people that don't reach out. Or at least for me, or maybe I'm just in the right spot where it just like really struck a chord, and it's having an impact, like a cascading impact on this organization and thus many lives.
Hey, thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Well, have fun, man. We'll see you later.
Enjoy the McDonald's.
Yeah.
Later, dude.
I'm not getting McDonald's. Bye.